fight. We don't have to kill. Everybody in the whole wide world really just needs to chill. No, we don't have to fuss, no. We don't
Hello and welcome to Just Chill with Oliver George, episode 8. We got the light on. We remembered this time. First off, I want to start off by saying, if you want to contact the show, you know what to do. Email justchillpodcasting@gmail.com. And I also want to start saying, subscribe, guys. Please. I'm getting lots of views, but I could use you just clicking on that button. It would go a long way. The guest today is what I would call my second rando guest, someone that I don't really know, but I'm excited to meet you, and you seem extremely interesting. So I was going to call you Acie because that's what you seem to go on some social media, but you prefer Andy?
You can call me either one, but let's stick with Andy today.
So
let's
Andy
get
Tran.
personal. Yep.
Here he is. What's up, man? Good to meet you first off, in the flesh. We've done a bit of digital interaction, but you've told me a lot about yourself. I got to say, you're a DJ, you work at Health Canada, you're into sports, you're a single dad, you're a YouTuber like me. That's kind of how you mainly reached out in the first place. So, man, where do we even start? What got you into YouTubing? Because you told me you recently got back into it. You sort of had some older videos. So where's the spark that reignited this for you?
So, I started my YouTube in 2014.
Okay.
And that was during a rough time in my life. I was just about to get married, and obviously I'm not married anymore, not long later. So just having to go through that entire experience and all that stress, I was like, you know what, I'm going through some problems right now, and I'm finding things that are helping, but what's really helping is just getting out there and talking about it, really. So
Connecting, yeah.
Yeah, so the audience that I picked to do that was the whole world. So I decided to go on YouTube, made some videos back then. I had no idea what I was doing, just in front of a webcam, no special audio, no nothing like that, no editing
just
skills.
Like talking about your life and stuff?
Yeah, and just throwing it up there. And it was 15, 20-minute videos. Whoever watched, whoever didn't.
So kind of just like vlogging almost?
Yeah, well, kind of just like self-help kind of stuff, you know?
Nice.
Just standing in front of the webcam and talking about a specific topic. And I would do a quick script and then just kind of sit there and just talk about it. And I put really interesting, because now that I'm doing a little bit of research on YouTube and I look back at how I did it then versus how I'm doing it now, there were things that I did back then that were awesome, picking really engaging titles that people would actually click on.
Okay.
And today it would be a little bit different, but now that I'm looking back on my old videos, I'm realizing all these things. But what reignited this whole passion for me again was, now that I'm kind of on the tail end of that rough stuff that I was talking about in my life, I'm able to be back in that space now where I'm getting back to myself, being happy again, and then sharing what's maybe helped me along that journey.
Nice.
And YouTube itself, it's so much learning. It's
I find it's really user friendly. I've been finding personally. I'm sure I'm still doing a million things wrong, but the editing and the uploading videos, they make it pretty easy.
It is pretty easy, but I mean that's just one element of it, right? Because on the creation side of it, and then you have the marketing side of things, and
that's the part that drives me nuts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Analytics and thumbnails, everything is it's pretty much running its own business.
Yeah,
it's not a side
layers.
Yeah. So I mean, and that's what I love in life. When something challenges me and something just forces me to keep growing and learning, I love it. It's gonna keep me there. Yeah,
it's an awesome feeling to really put your mind to something and then be able to look back and say hey, remember that guy that didn't know how to do this? And then you just feel like you've evolved and grown. I get exactly what you're saying. So I want to talk to you about your day job though a bit, because you said you worked at Health Canada, specifically in corporate mental health.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing now. So it's just a 1-year assignment, but it's something that I'm passionate about. I do a lot of that stuff on the side on YouTube. So I'm working in corporate mental health, so I'm responsible for mental health initiatives and programs for people.
Just an HR kind of a job? Or?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. Okay. So corporate services. So we plan all staff events and different events that are going on. In October, we did a panel discussion on men's mental health that I kind of got to plan and do all the questions and facilitate. That was pretty cool. I think it's still
a little more taboo to talk about than there's a lot of guys I think that are still really shy to open up. It's getting better, but I mean, I'm someone who suffers from mental health issues of my own. I don't know about if you fall into that category as well, but I don't know. I feel like sharing is always the best way. Maybe don't overshare if you don't know the person, but opening up is always going to be better than trying to keep all those feelings in and trying to navigate what can be a complicated mental situation and landscape, depending on what you're suffering from or dealing with. You know what I mean?
I think we all suffer on a spectrum when it comes to mental illness and mental health. And
I don't think there's anyone that goes through their life just from birth to death. Everything was fucking
perfect.
Great.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's life itself, right? I think life itself has to do with, there's yin and yang. There has to be good, there has to be bad. So because of that, things like mental health and men's mental health are good things to talk about to help bond men together and to help bond people together, actually.
So when you're in those moments of distress, you have more lifelines and people that you feel like you can really reach out to.
That's what life's all about, man. Life's all about connectivity, right, with the world.
Which is so weird because we're in a world now where we're digitally like more connected than ever, but a lot of the time it feels like the opposite when we're speaking like emotionally and caring for your fellow person and all that. It's almost closed off. You can feel like you have so many followers, but then no one to really talk to or whatever, you know?
Well, that's because it is an illusion.
Exactly.
Right? A lot of the folks
facade,
growing up, like, I mean, we're lucky. Like, how old are you now?
I'm turning 34 tomorrow.
Oh, great. Hey, well, happy birthday, man. So I got to be on the birthday episode here. So
look at that.
Our generation, we were really lucky from what I see. When I compare our generation with generations a lot younger than us, like we actually got to grow up in an age where we didn't have cell phones up until maybe like late high school, early university.
Yeah, I've talked about this before. We kind of hit puberty while the internet hit puberty.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah.
We fall in a weird small, percentage of age group or whatever you want to call it.
We didn't have computers in our houses growing up. At a
we did,
pretty
it was
young
like
age.
AOL or like really basic
Dial up,
shit.
yeah, pretty
dial-up,
bad.
exactly.
I mean, but we still went outside to play. Like, I mean, that was the thing to do.
Yeah, because if you wanted to go on the internet, you could get shit done, but it took a long time, right? Downloading anything, even when it started to get better and people had Winamp and that shit, it was still like you'd put like one song to download while you were at school all day or whatever.
Yeah, pretty much.
Or maybe an album or whatever it was, but
so again, it wasn't very useful. But it was definitely an advantage to us. It's not like we learned anything less than the people that are learning today.
We had a nice mixture. We had to learn the basic ways to sort of, like you said, play outside and find other ways to entertain ourselves. But then we also aren't as challenged with technology as maybe the generation before us. They might struggle a little more,
100%. And just those two topics right there, like the men's mental health and, just bashing millennials and how we grew up in technology and stuff. Like those are literally like 2 5-hour episodes on their own. You know what I mean? So pick your poison. We can go either way.
Yeah, exactly. Well, mental health is, obviously something that's rings true for me, but I don't know. I mean, like, where do you start with a huge topic like that? I could just list what I deal with myself, but my mental health is mainly anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
Most people that know me know this. It's not a secret by any means. And I suffer from pretty bad OCD as well. So,
well, that's a great start, right? You ask where to start.
Exactly.
You start with yourself.
Yeah.
Or you talk about what the things you're going through. You share your story. You share your relations with other people. And then that's how people connect with you. And then that's where we figure things out. I mean, a lot of people try to start in the books, the psychology side of things.
Self-help books and stuff.
Not even like the textbooks. I'm
talking
about like medicine. And
the academic and yeah.
I mean, like going to the doctor, getting diagnosed by like a psychiatrist, so that you actually have to start taking drugs for what you're going through. And stuff.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I think that's a great tool. I don't know if it's the best start.
Yeah, I would never like medication shame anyone because it definitely can work for some people.
Yeah.
But I think that people should, unless you have like full-blown diagnosed schizophrenia or something, but like if you have the opportunity to try at least, that's how at least I approach my mental health issues is like, I'm not ashamed of them and I have methods for dealing with them, but I feel like it's your duty to still keep trying to better yourself. You don't have to feel bad because you have anxiety or depression or whatever, but you shouldn't let yourself just succumb to it. And I'm not trying to shame people who maybe have a harder time with that, but like
100%.
always keep trying to climb that mountain, you know what I mean? Or get out of that shadow or whatever metaphor you want to use, because what else can we do? Keep trying,
Well,
everybody.
what do you find helps with your anxiety?
Well, weed, but that's actually a tricky slope too, because I found, especially lately, the higher THC stuff, the older I'm getting, the less it appeals to me. I do like some, because if I don't have any, I feel that can be anxiety. For me, it's like a nice 50-50, like maybe 10 to 15% THC, and same thing for CBD, and then it balances out nice. The CBD's been a huge game changer for sure.
Yeah, like a nice hybrid blend, I guess. Yeah, because I think
I'm okay with higher THC, but it's got to be like the end of the night, fucking just gonna watch Netflix or something, like brainless, just.
Well, do you remember when we were growing up and we were getting weed like off the streets and we had no idea how much CBD was in there and how much THC was in there?
There was no CBD in there.
Yeah, exactly. It was like just mostly THC. You're just basically just getting fried like every single day with your buddies.
Not only that, man, but there would always be jokes in high school about like this shit's laced with something. We literally had a joke with this one dude who would always leave us waiting because he was like a senior, right? And we were in fucking grade 9 freshman, and he would make us wait for like an hour to buy like a dime bag that was like 0.7 or whatever. So we would make jokes that he was spraying the weed with Windex because it always had this weird chemically smell when he gave it to us. And yeah, it was dark times for potheads.
There's always that one guy in the hood who's selling weed that everyone thinks his stuff is laced. So it's hilarious. But
which is so only something like a fucking high schooler would think of. Like, oh, yo, this shit's laced with PCP. It's like, do you think people are gonna waste PCP to fuck up high school kids when they're smoking weed? Like,
exactly.
that
Or like,
shit's
what's the benefit
you know?
of spraying with Windex anyways? You know, too.
Yeah, exactly. It's just
unless you just want to
teenager.
hurt people.
Which unfortunately there are people like that, but never drug dealers that I've met.
Yeah, exactly. Not the ones you want, at least.
No. You've been smoking weed a long time then, or?
Yeah, I mean, when I first started smoking weed, I was like 12 or 13.
Same here.
So,
I was 13.
Yeah, so grade 8, and a lot of the buddies like I hung out with within the neighborhood had older brothers. So I mean, they're definitely like the number one source of pressure, I guess. Especially when you're
or at least
rolling with,
opportunity.
like, yeah, exactly, because they have it, and you know, I mean, they're in high school at the time. We were still in middle school at the time. The schools were separated. And yeah, that's kind of how we got into it.
Because I think peer pressure is a bit of a cop out. Like, I do think that you can be pressured by your peers, but a lot of the time what people call peer pressure is actually pressure they're putting on themselves.
Internal, yeah, 100%,
You know what I mean?
100%.
And that's what I did in grade 9. It was
well, that's
like,
what I mean.
Smoking section, I get instant friends or whatever, you know?
That's exactly what I mean. Yeah, so it's basically the peer pressure that you put on yourself. That's a good way to put it, for sure.
Well, and it's also, at least where weed's concerned, it's also a bit of an escapism at that age when you're trying to, like, navigate high school, which can be, you know, you're trying to do the social side and you're also trying to make sure you got your schoolwork on top of things, and I don't know.
Kind of still is, though, eh?
Sorry?
Kind of still is a bit of escapism, I guess, even especially when you get to that higher THC kind of stuff, because when you smoke it, it's basically a write-off.
Yeah, that's almost why I don't like it. I like having THC be an active part of my life, but I like to still be productive and creative. And I find if I mess around with like some 25%, you know, indica or something, I'm just done. It's not even fun. Like,
I'm the same way right now.
Yeah, and edibles kind of the same. Edibles, I will admit that the body buzz, if you're like sore or something and you have the ability to just like write off the night, that's when I like doing edibles, because they always make me want to nap. They always make me feel very like jelly in the body, like nice and relaxed muscles and shit. So they have their uses, but
well, no, that's the key, right? I pretty much only smoke now. Well, it's 12 in the afternoon. I'm smoking now, but the only when it's like right before bed, and like I've kind of got everything in the day done.
Oh, I just do sativa during the day. Because sativas, I mean, they can be risky too. The risk with the sativa is that a lot of people will complain you get the paranoia, because it can make your mind race. But if you smoke or vape or whatever a sativa and you have something planned out and you just go do it, like we'll do it and then go to the gym.
Yeah.
And then you crush because you just got all this extra energy and you're actually putting it somewhere, you know?
That's true.
But if you just hit a sativa and sit on your couch, your brain's just going to drive you fucking crazy.
Yeah, again, this is like all still like relatively new stuff for me, right? Being able to, you know, go for a sativa as opposed to an indica, and, you know, go for that higher CBD. When back in the day, and I'm talking about when I was like in university.
Yeah, not even that long ago. Yeah,
not very long ago. And it was just like, okay, if I wake up in the morning and I'm ripping a bong hit, it doesn't matter what's in that bowl. I don't even know what's in that bowl. How much CBD, how much THC. It's like, I'm done. I'm not going to class.
You're definitely going to take a nap after eating something at like 1
and
p.m.
a huge meal at 1. Oh, yeah. Oh, man.
Same thing in high school. Like, my parents always knew, because I would come home after school and they were like, why are you so fucking tired? Like,
yeah, exactly.
were you running all day at school?
It's been a rough day at school.
No, it's because I was skipping class. And
oh my God, 100%.
stoned.
Yeah, I'd be the same thing. I'd come home and just take a nap, and like again, my parents would think it would be a rough day at school, but you know, actually, I skipped the entire day.
Yeah, go downtown or something.
Yeah,
with
or
your
smoke
friends.
weed at my buddy's place, and yeah, so.
Yeah, a lot of Jamaican showers were had.
Oh
during
my
school
God,
hours.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I just feel like part of that's on the school system, in that I don't think we teach kids, especially in that age group, in the right way. I think that we need to give a variety of subjects, but I think it's a little too broad. It's a little bit like, I don't know. I think we should be helping people find out what it is they're really passionate about, so that they're, instead of just teaching them how to fall into the woodwork of like capitalism and like, I don't know.
No, I agree, man. And that's part of what my channel is a little bit about too, right? One of my podcasts is the Grind Over Chatter podcast. And that podcast, we actually talk to people who have interesting jobs or things that they've done in their life that are maybe started off as a passion, but then turned into like a business. For example, my first episode is with my buddy David, who's a professional poker player.
Oh yeah, you mentioned
Yeah,
this.
we went to school together. And
That's got to be a life, eh?
Dude, this guy's
Jesus.
making millions right now. So he's a very, very talented player.
If I was him, I would totally dress like a Bond villain all the time.
Yeah, probably.
Just to intimidate people,
Yeah.
shave my head, get a fake scar over the eye.
Yeah, true.
Please continue. Sorry.
There's probably a couple of guys on the tour who are already like that. So I think he's just content just doing what he's got to do. But you know, it was awesome just hearing him, and it's not even just his particular job, you know, being a poker player, because my intention is not to show this video and like get everyone to start playing poker.
Of course, it's find something that you want to wake up and go do. Like,
yeah, that plus like what inside this passion. Okay, what are some of the things in poker that make you a successful poker player? What are some of these details and skills that people can adapt in their own lives?
oh, interesting.
Yeah, and like being able to read people, for example. And I'm trying to think because it's been a while
Bluffing
ago.
and stuff.
Yeah, not even just.
I guess that's not really.
It's just like it's like that sport mentality too. You know, it's that competitive spirit and never giving up.
Well, I was going to mention that because you said you were always a big sports guy, and that's one thing that I have a hard time seeing eye to eye on. I don't have anything against sports, but I've just always been like the last guy picked in gym class my whole life kind of thing.
Same with me, man. Same with me. I'm not into sports because I'm good at sports at all. You know, I think I got into it because my dad was a big sports guy. He was a big Maple Leafs fan.
I think that's a lot of people, honestly. It's a parent that gets them into sports. And
But-
it's good on the physicality side, of course, but the competitive nature, I don't know. I'm not like a let's give everybody a trophy guy either, but I do find that sports when I was a kid, I felt it like just stressed me out. Like because there's always these like hyper aggressive like guys that thought gym class was like they're gonna, you know, get a medal at the end or something like that, and they treated every gym class like that. So if you didn't make the shot, there's just mean kids when you're growing up.
Those guys don't grow out of those problems either.
No, of course.
Yeah,
So yeah, they're probably still assholes today, some of them, but
Well, because the big part of the men's mental health stuff, to go back to that, is masculinity, right? And how we deal with and look at our own masculinity. And that's one huge part of it: athletics, competitiveness, right?
Yeah.
And being big and strong.
And
Like
macho.
for a while, like dude, I'm not a big guy at all. Like I'm 5'9", about like right now like 155. At my peak, I was like 170, 172. But I was always wanting to go to the gym and like I wanted to be big. That was always my goal, right? I didn't care to be like healthy or anything like that. I just wanted to get bigger, my muscles to get bigger. And every time I'd been in the gym and I'd be looking around at the other guys, like no matter how hard I tried and how much
there's
I lifted.
always somebody bigger.
No. I was always
okay.
the weakest guy in the gym. Always, no matter what.
But that's all how you're looking at yourself.
Yeah, exactly. It's about how you look at yourself, and it's about, you know, being realistic with your goals and like and being hard on yourself too.
Well, and realizing it takes time and perseverance and patience. The gym is hard. It's like a lifestyle you really have to adapt to, especially if you're not a sporty person like me. My whole 20s, I didn't exercise at all.
Dude,
because
same, man.
because in high school I hated sports. I was like, other than dodgeball and archery, everything else I was like, man, it's just bad memories for me, you know. And it took me until my 30s after a divorce and other things to realize that I didn't have to associate fitness with sports.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I
For
mean?
sure. Yeah,
and
for
that
sure.
there was reasons to do it just for yourself, and it doesn't have to be this macho thing. It's just to feel better, you know. And I weighed 30 pounds more 10 years ago than I do now. I looked like less healthy back then, you know.
Just even getting back into it sometimes, because like I grew up pretty much sounds like the similar way with you. Like in my late teens and my entire 20s, I was just smoking weed, drinking, and smoking cigarettes.
Yeah. Well, I quit cigarettes around 21 or something, but yeah.
Oh, that's good.
Well, I was a kid when I started in grade 9 or whatever, same thing. So I smoked about 9 years, but
Yeah, so this takes a toll on your body, you know, especially your lungs and stuff. So getting back to the gym, it's like I feel like it'd be like 5 times harder than anyone else who was
dusting
just
off
like,
the cobwebs.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah, especially if you're a smoker of cigarettes, I can't imagine working out, doing any kind of cardio has got to be brutal.
I see people like literally smoking cigarettes after their workouts and stuff like that.
So
I'm like,
weird.
yo,
Well,
yeah.
after you've opened your lungs up and
Yeah,
all
yeah.
those like, I don't know what in your lungs, cells, I guess. What, capillaries? I don't know. There you
Oh,
go.
yeah, there you
See,
go.
I was waiting for him to jump
That's what
in.
dads are for.
Well, my dad's got a master's in biology too.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
Wow.
It's so weird. My dad and my mom both have masters in biology. That's correct, right?
Mom's a bachelor.
Oh, mom has a bachelor.
okay.
Sorry, but neither of them like did anything with it. That's how they met, like studying bugs or something.
Oh, really?
And then my dad worked for Nortel, and my mom became a nurse.
Oh, really?
Just like, how do you meet studying bugs and then?
That's a whole podcast.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah,
Yeah,
I want to
yeah.
interview my dad at some point, but
Oh, you should. That'd be awesome, actually.
we still had a lot of bugs growing up. My parents would have like this big. They had a table with all these butterflies in them with their pins in them,
really?
you know, like really cool, gnarly ones and different specimens and stuff. So I guess they were still into it on a hobby level, or that was just what relics from the past.
Bit of both.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like to this day, if we're like outside and some weird ass bug flies down, my dad will be like, he'll
knows-
drop like the scientific name and
Oh,
the
he knows
genus
exactly
and
what
shit.
it is, and
Yeah.
then he'll crush it.
Just crush it. No,
I'm kidding.
No, they actually have these weird ass. They're not wasps, are they? What are those big?
They're mud dauber wasps, the ones that come around.
So they are wasps.
Yeah.
Okay, they have these big things that look like wasps. They're like about that big,
Mm.
no joke. And they don't sting though, right?
Well, they do their prey, but not human.
They wouldn't mess with a human even if you messed with them.
No, they're very specific. They're parasitic organisms, really, because they lay their egg inside the embryo of, like a caterpillar or something they grab, and they drag down into a tunnel.
Yeah, so they let them build these tunnels in their backyard in the patio in between the cracks. You'll see these little holes,
Yeah.
and then in the summer they just have these big ass wasps flying and coming and going. But they think they're cool, so they just
Well,
kind of
can I
like
ask?
your
Can I
pets.
ask, like, what in nature is the purpose of these wasps? Because they don't make honey or anything. Like they don't pollinate.
No,
There's part of the food chain.
their purpose is the same as ours, to live
Yeah.
and to procreate.
That is literally like my theory of like humans are parasites of this earth.
To a degree, yeah.
Well, we're either the top level we're at the top level of the food chain, really.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks to our brains, if we didn't have our brains, we would be prey to the top level carnivores, right?
Mm-hmm. That is true.
There's where you're saying about humans being parasites. There's a wicked Chili Peppers song from Blood Sugar Sex Magic that's all about humans wrecking the earth.
What was that song?
I think it's called P.O.P. I think it's called oh my god, I have to look this up.
I'm a huge Chili Peppers fan too, though.
I gotta low key look this up while I'm talking to you, or can you look this up, Dan? Chili Peppers, Blood Sugar Sex Magic is the album.
It was an awesome album.
It's track number 8. I just want to know what it's called so
got
people
good
could
memory.
look it up, or I can put it in the notes of this episode later. It's just such a good track, and he talks about, he says, "Holy Mother Earth crying into space, tears on her pretty face, thought she had been raped," or something like that. And he says, "Global abortion, please, that is what she needs."
Wow.
Right? That's some deep lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've been a huge Chili Peppers fan my whole life. It's probably one of the first bands that made me want to listen to music.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I went on. My parents brought us to like Universal Studios, the whole Florida trip. When I would have been like grade 9, and I was
Okay.
just starting to listen to some music, but I didn't really know what kind of music I liked.
Okay.
And then I went to some little shop there, and that was the CD I bought, and I just like fell in love with just the funky.
Oh yeah,
You know,
especially from
especially
Blood
that-
Sugar, Sex Magic.
Yeah, I was gonna say that
too.
album just starts with that song, "The Power of Equality."
Yeah.
And it's just so amped up and like energetic, and I don't know. But then they've got really pretty songs too, where they
Well,
slow
the next
everything
couple
down.
albums, right? Because when you talk about By the Way, and you're talking about
Oh, I meant
Skating
even on that
Arcadium.
album.
Oh, even on that album.
song,
yeah.
I Could Have Lied, number 6.
Oh, I love that's one of my
Amazing
favorite
song. And the
songs, dude.
guitar solo was like
Dude,
fucking insane.
Literally
at the end.
one of my top 5 favorite songs of all time.
And number 2 also, If You Have to Ask, you know, that really funky
yeah,
track.
yeah. Mhm.
Because there's a guitar solo at the end of that one where I think he's like freestyling it or something, because at the end you hear everybody clapping and going like, woo! Like they can't believe what they just heard live,
Oh,
you know?
yeah.
Listen to it again.
I
That's
remember
my
that.
favorite
Yeah,
part
yeah.
of the song.
What do I know, the lyrics?
No, just the name of the song. Number 8. It's on, it's something, Prodigies of Peace or something? Is that it?
Could be. Sounds familiar.
I don't know.
I'm on the Blood Sugar Sex Magic. What's the name of the album?
Blood Sugar Sex Magic is the album. There, it's also a song, number 10 or something.
That is a good
Yeah,
song
yeah.
too.
Anyways, it's number 8 on that album. We'll find out. Just let us know when you find it. So sports-wise, though, you do play volleyball, you were saying? That's your kind of-
Well, the thing is, like, because I felt the same way as you, right? Like any other sport, like let's say it was like football, soccer, like basketball, especially, which is a sport I actually love to watch.
I hated volleyball the most.
Did you?
It hurt my arm, and then saying that made me feel like such a little bitch.
But you build that builds, right?
yeah, you
literally,
gotta
your
get like
arm
a
gets stronger. It becomes
callus.
like this is literally like bricks right now.
Oh, shit.
So yeah, no, volleyball was actually the only sport that I was actually even decent at, and I didn't even know I was decent at it until like I went to a tryout when I was like grade 8,
You just nailed it.
grade 7, grade 8. Yeah, I was just better than the rest. Okay, like
Bit
our
of a
team.
natural, yeah.
Yeah, well, it just in volleyball, but everything else was trash. Right? Everything else actually made me really discouraged about sports, to be honest. So
That's my experience, yeah.
yeah, so I played volleyball for my school team for about 3 or 4 years, up until maybe like a little bit, probably grade 10, grade 11, and then I stopped. And then like that's when I went on like cigarettes, weed, drinking, partying.
And then you don't want to do any sports. after
Yeah,
that,
exactly.
yeah.
So I was like, sports are done. Like I'm retired basically at that point.
Crazy.
And I didn't start actually getting into it again until this year or last year because of, I know, as I was saying earlier, like this is when I'm starting to feel better about my life. And like, no, I actually have a little bit of time. And I think it's important to be balanced physically
Definitely.
in your life.
It's so good for your mental health, too. If
100%.
anyone is struggling with mental health, that's the main thing I could say. If I have anxiety, cardio is always going to help. Weights, too. That endorphin release when you lift like some really heavy shit. I fucking hate doing weights, for the record, but
Yeah.
the way you feel after is really good. It's the closest thing in the gym I've ever had that felt like I was on some kind of drug.
Like
when
weights?
I've really pushed myself
Oh,
with
yeah,
some
yeah.
kind of weight-related thing.
The pump.
Just that feeling after, you're like, whoa. And I don't do it a lot, mind you. Like, I'm not huge by any means, you know. Which is cool or interesting when you were saying your drive to go to the gym was just to get big. I've never had that really desire. I just want to not be fat. I want to just be able to keep drinking beer and eating pizza and stay like about
That's
the same
that's
shape.
my goal now. That's literally my goal now. But yeah, no, for sure. Like I know a lot of people have their goals in the gym, and women too. Women go through that same thing too, right?
Oh, sorry. I should say my goal is to not go back to the 30 pounds I had 10 years ago.
Yeah, for sure.
That also.
No,
But back then
100%.
I didn't realize that was a goal for me, was to lose that weight, you know? It was something that came with that mental shift of like just starting to enjoy fitness. You know what I mean? Because if you're making yourself go to the gym to the point where it's like the worst chore, last thing on earth you want to do, it's so much harder to get into it. You know what I mean? Well, if you go with, like, that's why I like the sativa. I go there with the attitude of like, fuck it, I got this energy. I'm going to try and crush it as best I can. I'm not the strongest person. I'm not that amazing in the gym, but just do my best, you know?
That too, because, you know, you mentioned going to the gym is probably one of the best things for mental health. Most of the time. But here's the thing, because here's something that I realized this year. Because I was going through a bit of a burnout, like about like 6 months, 7 months ago, and had that same mentality about, you know what, physical activity and like pushing myself and like, and just really just giving myself my all in the gym is really going to help relieve my mental health. But I talked to a naturopath for a little bit as I was trying to get better, because I was like, man, nothing's working. Like I need help at this point. And he was just like looking at my life, looking at my schedule, looking at my diet and stuff. And he was like, man, you got literally so much on the go. And probably in like a day or two, or in the span of 3 days, you have just like 1 hour of leisure time that you could literally just be sitting and just resting and just chilling. But you're spending that hour in the gym, like literally trying to like push yourself to like a motherfucker so you can get big. Then he was like, at that point, you're just putting extra stress on your body and you're literally going to burn out faster than anything. And also number two, you mentioned if you don't like going to the gym and you're dreading going to the gym, but you're going there because you think that you're doing something for yourself, that mentality of not wanting to go to the gym is literally going to hurt you more than like the benefits of the physical.
Exactly. Yeah.
When you look at it like a holistic kind of sense.
Yeah, you're going to have just a bummer vibe still. Yeah.
So you got to like, so you got to be careful. Like I see some people who are like that, who are super busy, but still like really, really push themselves.
Super prioritize the gym.
Yeah. And then I'm just like, you know, it's okay to rest. Okay. That's literally my only message.
Well, I was going to say, when you were talking about that, it makes me think of that Joe Rogan podcast where he had this sleep expert on, and that guy left a message in my mind that sleep is like the most important thing. Essentially, it beats diet and exercise. Those things are obviously still important, but apparently you can be dieting like a motherfucker and working out every day, but if your sleep is shit, you're not going to get the kinds of results you want, and you're probably going to be a miserable bastard to be around, because you're going to be a grumpy, you know, if you don't sleep enough, it changes your personality for sure. And because you feel like you're struggling the whole time.
100%. One of the biggest blessings in the world that you could possibly even have as a human is to be able to sleep easily. Right? Because there's some people who have
insomnia is the worst, man.
Yeah, like imagine that. Like you can't rest even if you wanted to. Like that's
I get bouts of that because I've done so many overnight shifts my whole life, and I still do at the hospital.
Oh, do you? Yeah.
Yeah. So I just I like being up at night.
What is it you do again?
I sterilize surgical equipment.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I work a few shifts a week. I'm a stay-at-home dad primarily, but my fiance has a wicked schedule as an ICU nurse. So she works 12 hours, but like 4 days in a row, which is a long stretch. But then she'll get like 5 days off.
Okay.
So during the 5 days when she's off, I can pick up shifts at the hospital, and
nice.
It's a sweet job too. So
the flexibility is key.
But it allows me to do this. You know, have a pretty flexible schedule, and for comedy and
you do comedy too, right?
Yeah, when I can fit it in. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. So you like stand up?
Yeah, I mean, I started like 5 years ago, just kind of messing around and doing it here and there. But I was really intimidated, and even though I was doing well, I had a lot of like. Successes off the bat where I should have been just kept that flow going, but I don't know what it was, man. It's hard. It's hard to get up and do it, you know.
It's literally the hardest thing in the world, if you ask me.
And it's still, but frequency is so important, and that's one thing it took me like years to realize, and I'm still trying to like actually act on that. I know it's to be true now, but I still have a hard time. But that's honestly more just scheduling and life, and starting a podcast hasn't helped that at all.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
In the end, I like doing this more too, because I feel so much more natural here, and I feel... I have enough anxiety in my life, and when I do comedy, it definitely brings out some anxiety.
Is it a way to help battle your anxiety a little bit, though? Like the more you go up there, does it get better?
Yeah, it's a mix. I mean, that's why doing it regularly definitely helps, because you're like, oh, I just did this last week. It's not so scary.
It's work, basically. It feels like work.
Well, and you just don't build it up in your head as much as if you haven't, let's say you're like an avid skier, and then you don't go skiing for 3 years. The first time you go skiing, you're going to be like, oh, shit, do I still know what I'm doing? And then stand-up, just the beast, the nature of it is like so random, because the crowds are random. The locale can suck. Like, there's so many things that might be working against you.
People don't realize that. People don't realize how hard it is to actually go up there to do a quick 5 or 6 minute set.
That's actually what stresses me out the most about stand-up. And I always wonder, like, if you get really famous, does that change? I don't know. But the time limits and shit is what really gets to me, because... I'll practice at home knowing that I have like 8 minutes when you go to Yuck Yucks or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I time it out here and it's perfect. And then every fucking time when I do it live, it's like 2 minutes faster.
Oh, because you're rushing it.
Yeah, because you're kind of like I haven't gotten comfortable with like the silence, which actually builds in some people's acts. It helps, like, but it's so hard to just be on the stage and wait between jokes and just let it be silent. I just want that either me talking or the sound of laughter, which is not realistic, but you know, that's why I power through my sets half the time. I don't know. That's why I like doing musical comedy, because I have to pace myself. I got to pick up that guitar. There's a chord structure. There's a tempo. That's when I feel most confident.
Oh, you do that too? You actually up there and you play like a funny song and stuff?
Yeah, that's honestly what I've been leaning towards the most. We did a show at Vimy Brewing Company in November, which was like all musical comedians. So 4 of us just got up there and did a mix of stand-up and then funny songs. And that was a really fun show. Shout out to those guys.
I kid you not, like doing a set on stage somewhere, like a stand-up, maybe even like a 5-6 minute, is literally at the top of my bucket list.
Just do it.
Yeah, I know, for sure. I have a lot of friends in the game too.
Everybody, my buddy Terry's the same way. He's gonna come on here sometime soon, because he, for so long, I was telling him, you got to do stand-up. You're funny when we hang out. He just says zany shit and he gets everybody laughing. And I'm like, come on, man, you got to do it. And he wanted to. And then finally, I did some show in Renfrew at like a curling club, and there was like 12 people in the audience. It wasn't my finest moment.
Hey.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever. You got to take the gigs
you.
when you get them. And part of that gig, because I was driving a bunch of people out, somebody dropped out, and then I asked the lady who was organizing it, like, would it be cool if my buddy tried? He's been wanting to like try his first time, so he did 5 minutes. He did pretty good, man.
Oh, good. He actually tried it. Good.
Yeah, and I filmed it for him and stuff, and he didn't like slay or anything by any means, but most people bomb, or a lot of people bomb their first time, and he actually
everything in life.
He had a lot of the stage presence. He wasn't like, he didn't seem nervous, which is one of the hardest things.
Yeah.
Because you can get the audience with you. There's a lot of people who, like, even their material might need some work, but they have that charisma, you know. That's probably how I get by half the time.
100%.
It's like, oh, he's got a guitar, or, you know, whatever. He can be a little something different, but I know my shit's not that good. I gotta work on my writing.
It's the fact that you know that is great, right? Because then you can build on it. Because I watched this video that and I probably should have shared it with you before this, and it was so inspiring. It was called The Creative Process.
Okay.
And some people in the filmmaking group were actually, I kind of connected with you through led me down a pigeonhole of like YouTube videos, because you know how the algorithm is. And then it led me onto this video where it was basically just about how to become a better content creator, how to become like a master at what you're doing, right? Because no one's going to be amazing right off the bat, whether it's creating YouTube or going and doing stand-up comedy.
Like how to be captivating, kind of.
Yeah, but it's not even thinking about that. It's basically saying like, okay, look in your, and I think you'd appreciate this because you're a passionate type of guy too. And it was like, look into the reason why you started doing this. Okay, you started doing this because you have good taste, right? Because you wanted to create something that would entertain you, and you have like
hopefully others, yeah.
And hopefully others, right?
Yeah.
But hopefully, if you have good taste, then you would think that others would share your taste.
It would be appealing to someone.
100%.
Yeah.
That's why we do this. That's why we put it online. Otherwise, we would just keep it by ourselves in our hard drive and listen to ourselves.
Yeah, because if you thought legitimately that you suck and you're terrible, why would you want to advertise?
Why would you share it? Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah.
So, obviously, no one is able to create something as great as their taste at the beginning, right? So there's a gap between like what you're actually doing and your taste. And they're like, the only way to actually close that gap is to keep on working and growing and learning until at one point you actually will reach that point.
And then maybe even keep going.
Yeah,
past your
100%.
Yeah.
It's something that you never even knew you could do. But
Yeah.
a lot of people, and that the whole idea is like a lot of people kind of quit when they reach like that, maybe like 10-15% point right there. And they just think like what they're creating is never just gonna be as good as their taste, or they're not getting like the analytics or like the reassurance that they need from, you know, viewers or whatever, subscribers. So
and it's easy to start comparing yourself to anyone who's doing well on social media or whatever. You're like,
Everyone
this guy
knows,
has a bajillion followers and I've got 4 or whatever. You know, like it can be pretty. But you just have to remind yourself, like, who cares? Like, is that really why you're doing this?
Yeah, 100%. Like an important topic that I was just thinking about the last couple of days, and I thought I might want to get into today, is something like that, like the comparison mind, like having that mind. And I think like social media fuels a lot of that stuff too, is having that mind where you're constantly comparing situations and people and things to everything basically else. So it literally
yourself.
almost everything we talked about today actually kind of goes back to that sometimes. Like, you know, me being in the gym and having comparing my mind with the other people that are in the gym and all that and whatnot. So, I mean, that's something that I think a lot of people need to work on. And that's kind of why I got into my YouTube too.
Yeah.
Is to get people to start just thinking a little bit differently about these things that might change your life a little bit.
Yeah, stop using external stimuli to base all your values and how you're going to run your life.
Yeah.
And try to look inward. Like
100%
yeah.
look inward. Like look inward instead of outward, basically. That's the whole idea.
Well, you got to cast your net, though, because you can pick up, first of all, you can make new friends.
Mm-hmm.
Example A.
Yeah.
Come on. No,
for sure.
but just learning things. The guy who was on, Matt Champ, a comedian, he was on last episode, and he was talking about how if two people walk up to each other and they each have $1 and they give each other $1, they both still have $1. But if each gives each other an idea, now we both have 2 new ideas.
Interesting.
You know what I mean?
I like
so
that.
yeah, you can't close yourself off completely and live in a bubble. Like I love just meeting new people with this show, and I know what you were saying about getting discouraged because maybe you don't have the kind of results and analytics.
Yeah.
But that's why I love sticking to a plan. I'm like, okay, if I just keep doing at least 1 episode a week, and then 2-3 days later putting that up.
Yeah.
In a year, I'm going to have like 50 some odd videos,
Yeah.
and they're all going to be an hour or whatever long, you know, and all these new connections. And
You've already gotten better too. Like just even for your first couple of videos where like you just had 1 camera and everything. It's
yeah,
just,
well,
that's
if you're
what I
talking
mean.
tech,
Like,
yeah. I think I'm trying
that's
to be a
part of
better
it.
host
That's a part
too.
of it. Like that's literally a big part of getting up to that level of taste. It's literally just growing your production, growing your creativity, growing your flow, growing as an interviewer, all that
Yeah,
stuff.
that's what I'm really trying to focus on because it's hard. I get very excited when I speak to people, so it's hard. Certain people, you just like,
I don't think you are. I don't think you are. I think you're pretty natural.
Yeah.
Or at least so far how it's been. So I'd say
Sometimes
just
it can
keep
be the
up.
flow that you have with the person, though. It's
Oh,
weird.
100%.
Sometimes there's
It
just
takes
like
2 to tango, right?
It's like taking like a plug and then another plug and just trying to
100%,
fucking.
and then it just works.
Yeah.
It's
Oh no, I meant like
eureka.
if you're taking 2 plugs and there's no outlet, you're just like,
Oh,
this
yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
work.
yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
yeah. Okay, cool.
Just sometimes personalities don't mesh, and I think that can be worked upon, but. It's hard. It's an uphill battle sometimes. Sometimes it's weird. That's what makes me kind of believe in like energy and
Yeah.
astrology and whatever other weird shit you want to throw at me. I'm at least open-minded just because vibes are so real sometimes.
But that's
you know?
the exact same philosophy I use when I talk to my guests before I talk to them. Like, you know what I mean? Just and exactly what we talked about when I first walked through the door. It was like, do you have that preparation in 1 hour interview first? Because it's always going to go well, right? I mean, and my assumption is that, because it goes well in that first hour, when we start recording, it's still going to go well or better, but it rarely is.
Oh, you want to grease the wheels a bit? And
Yeah,
kinda-
exactly. So I'm
Interesting.
a little bit
I'm
afraid.
the opposite. I'm
Yeah.
like, we say nothing to each other until not
I'm
literally.
like, am I
but-
going to get robbed? Like when I show
No, I just hate getting
Okay.
into like really good combo
Yeah.
and then realizing none of it's getting recorded. And it
Yeah,
happens
yeah.
every time I have someone come over. The small talk turns into interesting talk, and then I'm like, oh no, we got to sit down and get this. But
Well, that's why people vlog sometimes too.
yeah, just
Right.
like so they don't miss a.
Yeah, because they just think interesting stuff happens in their life, and then it just pops up, and then look.
Well, I was gonna say for comedy, first of all, you should try doing it sometime.
Mm-hmm.
And anyone who wants to try comedy, it's not that hard. You go on the Yuck Yucks Facebook page. I think it's the Launching Pad or the New Talent Showcase. There's 2 different ones. And Absolute Comedy has something similar. And I think they both do this, but it's like the 15th of the month or something. You send
amateur
your
nights.
name to a generic email that everybody sends their, hey, I want a spot or whatever. And then a week or 2 after that, they'll put up, or I guess the next month at the very beginning, they'll put up the dates for each week and who's on.
Oh, really?
And it can take a few months sometimes where you have to, especially if you're new and they're like, we don't know you. But you'll get in eventually. They want to give everybody a chance. And if you're god awful, they'll still probably give you another chance because that's part of comedy. And sometimes people need to evolve or everyone needs to evolve and
100%.
grow.
And most people give up 100% after the first couple of times if they bomb on stage maybe once. But I mean, have you gone on tours?
No, like I've done a set in Toronto back in the day. I did a show in Montreal in like this apartment show, which is actually super cool. It sounds sketchy because you're like, what? It's in an apartment,
no.
but it was like a loft, and they've been doing it for a while. And Matt's a really nice guy. And I did that Renfrew show, but no, basically just Ottawa. I don't with 3 kids, man. Like,
Oh yeah, 100%. It's gonna be tough.
I would do it. It's weird because with comedy, especially, it seems like you have to like struggle forever, and then maybe you end up being one of these guys that tours with a bus and gets a
Yeah.
Netflix special and all that.
Yeah.
And then it'd be easy because then the money comes with it, and the organization gets easier, and the hey kids, I'm going to be gone for a couple weeks, but then
Yeah.
I can take 3 weeks off because I'm getting a big fat paycheck
Hope
from
so.
you know what I mean.
Hope so, yeah.
Yeah, best case scenario. I'm
Yeah,
talking.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not saying for me that's going to
Well, it's
happen
tough,
by any
man.
means.
It is a tough industry.
Yeah, and also I feel like with comedy, I don't know, I've just always enjoyed doing it. Like I said, there's anxiety, sure, but it's fun. That's why, or at least I try to keep it that way, and I want to. Every time it starts getting, to be a bummer, I don't want to do it anymore, and then I'll take a step back
That's
and
the
be like, all
passion
right,
thing.
wait until I feel like I got a bunch of fresh new jokes, and maybe I'll never be a world-class comedian because I don't do the grind every day and work those material and forge those jokes into, that's what you really got to do. But
if you want to make it that huge, I guess.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm okay with being someone who doesn't suck at comedy.
Oh, 100%.
And I'm going to lean into
Who
the
doesn't want
musical
that?
side. I think that's, if anything, where I'm going to go. I'm going to keep doing live shows, but I'm going to focus more on just writing funny songs
Nice, man.
that I can then do accompanying music videos for that I can release on my YouTube channel. You know what I mean? That seems like a decent plan right there. So,
Dude, I respect the art of comedy so much. Even the element of creativity behind it too. Like, even the writing. I think writing songs might even be harder than writing jokes that are funny sometimes. It depends who you are, right?
well, yeah, that's why I'm lucky, I guess, in that sense, because there's a lot of comedians who know a couple chords, or they'll figure out a couple chords so that they can try the musical comedy angle. But like, I played music when I was a kid and did that for years and years and years before I ever even tried doing stand-up. So yeah, for me, writing songs is easier. I think honestly, when I do stand-up, I don't even get stressed out when I'm doing music stuff because my brain's just like, I don't know how to explain
You're comfortable in music.
Yeah, I'm not just talking. It's like, oh, these are lyrics and there's a beat and there's so much more structure and like pattern.
Structured 100%.
Yeah, it's just a pattern, so it's easier for my brain to remember. So I just I don't get stressed that I'm gonna forget anything.
Yeah.
But when you're trying to just like lead people along this story or
and then cue
segues,
them cue for laughter and stuff, and it's gonna be tough to kind of like ride that wave a little bit, right? Because it's a little bit more uneven when you're doing like an actual just a stand-up routine.
and that's what I also learned is if you're doing musical comedy, you can you get to fuck around with stand like a bit because you can have a little intro for the song and you can have a little outro for the song and maybe a little joke that connects you to your next song. But you don't have to like remember these like 20 minutes of like, okay, and then this, and then I talk about my stepdaughter, and then or whatever it is, And I have so much respect for people that can go and do like an hour. I'm like,
like the specials.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's.
Who are your favorite comedians?
I don't know, man. I have so many. It's a very hard question to answer because I'm not a hater. I guess like if you make me laugh even a little, then I respect your game. Anyone who's trying to do comedy to make people laugh, it's just such an honest thing to try to do.
Out of the big
like,
ones, though, out of like the really big guys who are making like millions going on tour.
Oh
Who are your
God,
favorites?
man. I like Bo Burnham. I've talked about before because he also mixes the music in, and he was actually like a YouTuber and Vines and all that shit was how he got his start. But he's just a really intellectual guy. Same with Dimitri Martin. I've mentioned both of those as favorites, but I like a lot of the classics too. Like Richard Pryor and George Carlin, and those are the legendary kind of greats or whatever. Not a fan of Bill Cosby.
Not anymore.
To be fair though, no, I wasn't even really a huge fan of his before. I just
Yeah.
never really. His stuff was really wholesome, and not that I need like it to be really vulgar, but I
I
don't
didn't
know.
watch a lot of his stand-up though. I mean, I obviously watched him on the Cosbys, and
Yeah, I liked his acting more, I guess. I remember seeing Ghost Dad when I was a kid and being like, oh, okay, this is pretty cool.
and then there's so many other guys who are the opposite, who are just better at the comedy than they were at the acting, right? Like guys like Eddie Murphy and
Oh yeah.
Robin Williams.
Well, Eddie Murphy can be a great actor too, but he definitely.
Yeah, he was pretty. He's pretty good at both. But I'm just saying, I think
Yeah,
he's a
yeah,
better
his
comedian.
strength was
Like,
on
his comedian
stage.
was like his comedy was just, it was strong. It was.
He was
hilarious.
great on SNL too, right?
Yeah.
As a
Oh, yeah.
sketch comedian. Yeah.
Versatile guy.
I'm trying to think of other comics though. Like I love so many comics, man. I love all those guys from Joe Rogan's show too. They're all funny. Tom Segura and
yeah.
Christina P. And Whitney Cummings is really funny.
She is. Yeah.
I don't know, man. Anybody you name who's a comedian, I probably love
have
them and
respect for them.
have seen
That's
at
good.
least one of their specials.
Well, you have respect for the game then. I don't think it's anything you should ever give up or put
I used
away
to
then.
love Dane Cook though. When I
Yeah,
was,
yeah, he was
and people used to shit on him.
Yeah, I wasn't. I don't know. Maybe it was the time that I was in my life. Like I wasn't a huge fan of his comedy.
I think I just liked his energy.
He had energy. For
His
sure.
ability to just like get an audience on board, like they're his bros from college. All of a sudden,
Yeah, yeah,
everybody's
yeah.
just like, yeah, like
true,
he's
yeah.
just got this electric energy, and some of his bits were pretty freaking hilarious.
Yeah.
But I get why people don't like him because he has like a sort of a douchey vibe, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah. And people said he was jacking jokes. That was a big thing back in the
was he?
day.
Yeah.
He was one of the few people that was getting accused of stealing, I think, Louis C.K.'s jokes.
Mm.
Because there was an episode of Louis C.K.'s show where, like, it was a fictionalized meeting of them talking about
really?
him stealing his jokes.
Oh,
Yeah.
was it actually with Dane Cook or was it like
Yeah, it was with
oh,
Dane
okay,
Cook.
Okay,
yeah,
okay,
because
okay.
this was like, 10, 15 years later, and I guess they had probably already hashed it out in real life.
Oh yeah, okay.
And I didn't watch too many episodes of that. Louis.
That was a good show though. I did watch a couple episodes of that
What,
show.
Louis?
Yeah, Louis. Yeah.
Another guy who's been kind of tainted his image in society. I don't know.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah, it sounded pretty sketchy.
It was a bad time. It was a bad time to get caught or come out with what he did.
Well,
and
it should always be a bad time because you shouldn't be doing sketchy ass shit. But
what I mean by that is that like back in the day, like, I mean, like it was, I mean, I'm not condoning any of that at all. I'm
No,
just
of
saying
course.
that it was like, it's a tough time to be like popped for something like that for it to affect your career, to like ruin your career.
Oh yeah,
That's what I'm
he
saying.
got definitely caught up in the wave of the Me Too and all that. Like really hard. He
So,
was
I
on the
mean,
crest.
He paid a big price for that compared to like what other people.
Well,
would pay
now
for
he's
that,
doing
right? So-
comedy again at certain places. He did.
Yeah, whoever would have him, I think, and I love the guy. I love his comedy too.
He can be pretty smart and pretty funny, and I definitely was a fan. I don't know. The whole situation's really weird because,
Turned you off on him a little bit.
well, anytime that something like that, like a scandal happens, you're obviously going to pay attention. But I also realize that we live in a society where information is very unevenly distributed, misrepresented sometimes. And I'm not trying to be like, Louis innocent. Like, I don't really have a fucking stake in it either way. I don't. I'm paying attention. I'm watching to the developments or whatever. But I don't know. It's weird. You never really know what really happened. And there are people that try to exploit celebrities and try to tell taller tales than, like, wasn't there something with Aziz Ansari where some chick tried to say that he had somehow like sexually abused or assaulted her, and then it turned out that it was more just like a bad date and she was exaggerating everything, or I don't know. I don't want to speak like I'm super fluent in
No,
this,
I mean,
but
there's two sides to every coin, right? And I think that's something that people need to think before they react to news, because one of the most crazy things about the world, one of the most fucked up things right now is is the fact that there is so much news coming at you every single day, like in your face.
Exactly.
You don't even have time to like determine is this real or fake. You're just absorbing it, and then the next thing comes, you absorb it. The next thing comes, you absorb it. And that's one of the scariest things. I went to go actually watch Barack Obama speak when he came here the last time he came to Canadian Tire Center. I think it was like a month or two ago, maybe longer. It was still warm outside.
really?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. So I bought it. Yeah, so I bought a ticket to go check it out. And he was saying like talking about the future and technology, and he was like, that's one of the things that scares me the most, that our kids are gonna be growing up.
Your voice kind of changed like his a little bit when you started talking.
Oh, yeah, well that's good. Hey, I'm gonna use that.
One of those things. Got to change with the most. Yeah, he kind of talks like that, right? I don't do a good Barack.
Yeah. So I guess I do. Maybe I'll add that to my comedy bit when I do it. I'll do a good Barack, and just confuse the hell out of everybody.
If you watched a couple videos, you could probably mimic it. I don't feel like he's hard as far as impressions go.
Probably not.
That's really he does like those pauses.
Really great.
Yeah. He really like low baritone,
and then it goes up.
Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah. So I mean, so what again? One of the things he said was it was just the speed at which we deal with media right now. It's extremely scary. And Facebook's building in mechanisms that are like kind of like, I've seen it one time. Someone posted something and then like Facebook actually had a flag on it that says like, this is untrue. Like, this has been fact checked.
Really?
This is not true. Yeah.
I have not seen
that
that
once.
Yet. Huh.
And I was like, okay, that's great, because they did promise that
False
they were going to do
news
that.
or whatever they call it.
Something like that. It just flagged as like untrue or unproven. I think it was, the article was Pepsi was proven to Pepsi admits that they know that there's like a carcinogen in Pepsi.
Sorry, if anyone's hearing the dog,
it must be the weed man.
The weed man's
the
here.
weed man's here.
Health Canada. Anyways, so wait, it was like something saying that Pepsi was admitting that they had a carcinogen.
And then this girl on my Facebook, she shared it. And then when I saw it, it was like a flag that popped up right on that thing, and it was like flagged as untrue, flagged as false, something like that.
Should just say like bullshit.
Yeah, pretty much. That's what it should say. It's pretty much what it does say. And I commented on it, and I said that's what it said, and then she just deleted it right after that. But it's important because I think a couple of big Facebook CEOs back in the day have stepped out of the board of directors and have stepped out of the company by saying that, like, listen,
it was ethically wrong.
Well, this thing's becoming a propaganda machine, right? And it's just swaying people back and forth at the court of public opinion and everything.
Well, Sacha Baron Cohen just did some speech, right?
I shared that
about
that. Yeah,
that the Nazis could be using Facebook if it was around back
100%.
then.
Yeah. I shared that. I don't know if you. Yeah. So I shared that.
It might have been you that I saw it from.
Probably. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, Borat's right,
Yo, that guy is a really intelligent dude. Every
Yeah.
time I've seen him give any kind of a speech on anything, he's really got a lot of interesting ideas, and he's very well spoken. He's not what you expect him to be when you watch his
Well, I know when you watch
movies.
Borat and stuff like that, but like
Borat and Bruno and whatever.
Yeah.
What was the other one? Didn't he have three? Oh, Ali G.
Ali
was the
G.
other. Ali
Yeah.
G was
Ali G
actually
was around for a
fucking
while.
hilarious back
Yeah.
in the show. Have you ever seen him interview Donald Trump? Like, this
I've
was
seen
back.
that, way back in the day.
Oh man,
yeah,
Ali
yeah.
G is like trolls people so well.
Yeah. He's smart, and honestly, I believe it when people say comedy is the highest form of intelligence, because
Booyaka.
100%, dude. That's why I told you I literally like have the utmost respect for everyone who does comedy or anything to do with comedy at all, even writing jokes.
What I love about comedy is that it's truly an art in the sense that so many people can do it and elicit like a comedic response, but in such varied ways, just like music or just like art. You know what I mean?
It is art.
Well, that's what I'm
It
saying.
is
Yeah,
art.
anyone
Yeah,
who
yeah,
denies
yeah.
comedy as art is full of shit.
Exactly. Like those are not the people you want at your show. Like you want people who go there who are going to appreciate the art of it.
That's the funnest part about doing comedy in my mind is just like all the other comedians you get to see.
Yeah.
When you're on a show and you just like you do your 5
You're
minutes.
just like
and
touring
then-
with a bunch of bands, basically, right? It's kind of the same thing.
Well, and they're really
bit.
nice too. If you just start performing regularly, even if you're not like amazing, they'll start like treating you like a comic. You'll show up and be like, "Oh, you don't have to pay." You
Oh,
can-
great.
Well, it's like $5-6 on an amateur night, anyways. But it's just it makes you feel like, "Oh shit," and then the other comics will start to talk to you, and it's like, it's pretty cool. You feel like
is
you're in the
cool.
club or whatever.
Well, you have to do it for the passion, right? Because the pay is not always there. Just much like for acting, right? Acting, it's such a tough gig because it requires so much determination and skill and talent.
So
And
yeah, I haven't
time.
done a lot of acting, but acting I have no problem taking money for. It feels like more of a quick, easy exchange. Like, what's the scene? Oh, I got to say this or I got to do this. Cool. Here's my check. Okay.
Yeah.
But comedy, I feel like if I started getting paid for it in any big way, it would like mess with my head doing the comedy because I'd be like, oh shit, I'm getting paid for this. Like,
There's an expectation now?
yeah, like more because you're free winging it a little more than if you're acting.
Yeah.
If you're acting, you can't just like say whatever the fuck you want. It's like there's a script. You
Yeah,
can,
yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
depending on the director, you could ad lib a bit or whatever, maybe. But there's more structure, so
True,
it feels like
true.
more of a transaction to
Oh,
me.
instead of a purely creative kind of thing is what you're saying? Or
Yeah, well, just in the sense
Yeah.
that live comedy is usually a little more
lot,
free, and
yeah.
there's a lot of time people do crowd work and throw in a little improv and,
Yeah.
and this and that. So not that I do much of those things, but
How
I'm
hard,
sca-
you know those guys who MC the night, right? Who come up
Like
and
the
do
host or whatever?
Yeah, the host.
Yeah.
He'll come up and he'll do like a quick 1 or 2 minute set, like between everyone's set.
yeah.
Is that harder to do than stand up, or is that easier?
I've only done that once, and it
Yeah.
was at a Ed the Sock show.
Really?
And I hadn't
Is that
done
where that came from?
Yeah, I hadn't done
Okay.
comedy in like 8 months, and I got the opportunity to do that, and I jumped on it because I used to be a big fan growing up of his.
Nice. Yeah, me
and
too.
I loved it, man. I was afraid to do hosting because of the crowd work part.
Yeah.
But I guess because of the type of show that it was, I didn't feel like the need to do a lot of that other than like, hey, how's everybody doing? And that
Yeah.
shit's easy. Like,
Oh, yeah, 100%.
are you guys ready to see Ed the Sock? And then, like, that's fucking easy, pumping people up. But like, asking someone like, so where are you from? And hoping it goes well, that kind of intimidates me,
Mm-hmm.
But having to only do 1 or 2 minutes and then introduce the next person.
And then you're out of there, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and then
you're
I'm
not the
sitting
center of
on the
attention.
side of the stage and I can kind of look at my notes or whatever and be like, oh yeah, okay, that's what I'm going to do next. Maybe
Yeah.
switch it up based on what they
What
said.
exactly, yeah.
It's a lot
100%.
more flexible. So for me, I dug it, but
I think that's what I'd like to do eventually. I think if I ever did put my foot into comedy, like that
Try to get
probably
into
be my end
hosting?
goal. Yeah, just get into hosting and emceeing because I'm emceeing weddings right now, and I think it's going okay. And I'm trying to start throwing jokes in and
Definitely,
get the
man.
crowd laughing and stuff, and just give myself a little bit of difference.
yeah, it seems like a more relaxed gig once the people, like the ones I watch who crush, like Tavis Maples Den. He's a guy who's at Yuck Yucks a lot, and every time I've seen him host, he's just so natural. He's so maybe he's nervous in his head, but to me, he always seems so calm, so comfortable, and then he always kills it. Like all his improv conversations with people in the audience, everything I've ever seen. The guy's. We're hoping to have him on in the new year.
I think it makes a big difference too because if he's keeping the crowd warm and lubed up for the next couple of guys coming up, it keeps a nice flow going in the night, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And the opposite of that being if you get a bad
Oh
host.
my God, you'll
it's
screw
like,
everybody up. Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's a lot of kind of rules with hosting. I remember when Kyle was on here on the first episode, he told me he did a show where they had some really like killer act. I can't remember who it was, but right before him. And he was already nervous because the person's like a bigger name or whatever, at least in his head, And the person who was hosting just kind of said like, okay, well, that was great. I'm just going to bring your next act right out. And he was upset because he was like hoping the guy would like reset the room because if you're coming right off of somebody
Gotta
else's.
reset the table, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Especially if you have a different style or whatever, it can be kind of jarring for the audience who's like just laughing at one type of humor and then there's no in between kind of like neutral guy. So I don't know. It's interesting. It's interesting how when you watch people get into comedy, then you see them all kind of slowly deviate into like their discipline. Some
Yeah.
people are like, I think I'm going to get into hosting. Oh, I think I'm going to do musical comedy.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to try and be a feature act. I guess that's supposed to be the goal, but
Yeah.
yeah. And then some people end up just owning comedy clubs and that's where they excel. And some people get into podcasting. It's just comedy is so fucking broad. That's what I love about it, and you can apply it in your life to the way that's comfortable for you. You know what I mean? You don't have to be a comedian who goes on stage to be someone who applies comedy to their life and has it benefit their day-to-day life, in my opinion. You make somebody laugh in your day-to-day life, that's good for both of you. That's good for the earth. Well, not the planet,
it's
but you
true.
know what I mean? Like the society or whatever.
For people, yeah.
Yeah, because maybe that person now is going to go about the rest of their day with a bit of a lighter spirit, maybe pass a bit of that on. It's like a good kind of plague, you know, or like infectious.
Even if you get a bad plague out there, you can use it to feed your comedy then too, right? So it's like a cycle of material. Just keep on like recycling.
Yeah. With the volleyball stuff, I was going to say, you had said you were going to have like an Olympic volleyball player on your show?
Yeah. No, actually, I'm working with Justin Duffer now. So he's a middle blocker who played for the Canadian Olympics in 2016.
Damn.
In Rio, actually. So, yeah, no, tall dude, man, 6'7".
So is he doing 2020 again or no?
No, he's retiring now. He's having kids and wants
okay.
to do business school and stuff and wants to change his... it's time for a change, I guess, right?
There you go, man.
So he's
Those can be the coolest moments in life when you metamorphosize, you know?
Yeah, so he's settling down now, and he's trying to like launch his volleyball camp. So I'm just trying to help him out with like marketing and.
Well, it'll just be interesting to hear his tales from
yeah,
the
so I'm gonna
Olympics
start.
and
Yeah,
stuff.
I'm gonna interview him too, and I've had a lot of great guests, man. Like I've been really lucky, and it's kept me going. Like I've taken a step back from the podcasting a little bit, just because I feel like my stuff was all over the place.
That's like me.
Yeah, it's a YouTube problem, right? It's not a problem that's specific to you and I. It's like I was watching videos on it about like, you know, how to grow a YouTube and how to, you know,
People go either
mistakes.
or.
Yeah.
People either niche hard or they do
Or
like
they don't
all
at
over
all.
the place. Yeah.
But they say it's much harder to be successful if you don't niche.
Yeah.
Because what they say is, you know, some people subscribe to you and follow you because they like one certain thing about you, right?
Yeah.
And when they're getting notifications, let's say it's my life coaching stuff. Someone really digs what I'm saying for the life coaching stuff and like that.
And then they see a video
next week,
for like...
yeah, DJ vlog, you know,
Yeah.
now I'm out getting drunk and partying and like, you know, just trying to get
exactly.
paid and emceeing and stuff. And they're like, you know, it might be cool to them, or I might think it might be cool for them, but they'll just be like, you know, I don't want these updates, and I'll just unsubscribe.
I have such a like just defiant nature that the whole fact that you're supposed to pick a niche makes me go, fuck that.
No. I know. That's my initial reaction for sure, 100%. And it's so hard for me to find a niche too.
This was supposed to be a niche podcast because I did a contest thing last year where I was trying to get this job being like a weed tester where you're going to make $1,000 a month to review strains. And I beat out like 25,000 people and made it to the final 25. And then I got iced out of that.
Oh, man.
But that was what sparked the idea to change my basement up and get everything up and running. So that could have been a niche. But then honestly, when I tried to imagine it, I was like, it felt so limiting just to even imagine doing.
Well, your niche could just be podcasting. Right?
Yeah, honestly, that's what I'm going for.
Yeah, that's good.
Even just the first few episodes, we had comedians on because it was like, yo, they'll be funny. But I'm really trying to just keep getting more whoever, you know, making new friends, essentially, just learning from other people's experiences. And I'm going to try and honestly go to like Ottawa U and be like, where can I talk to like some professor that's outgoing? It doesn't even matter what they teach because I could learn anything from a professor. Like whatever your thing is, I could learn that, you know? Spanish, let's do it. Well, that might be a little weird for a podcast.
Well, I got a whole ton of guests that you'd probably like and would like to interview.
Yeah, that's another thing. Every person I meet, I'm like, hey, connect me with anyone that you know that's rad, because I feel like you can trust friends of friends a lot of the time, you know?
Yeah, even if you just keep your eyes open in life, you know, sometimes you don't even realize the people you talk to, like just the guy you probably talk to in the elevator at your building or someone on the bus next to you. You guys have a quick conversation.
They have such a story.
It's amazing how many good stories that people have.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what sparked my podcast too, because I was like, okay, I hear a good story, and I was like, I don't have a mic right now, but I'd like to call you at some point, get you to come over, and I want you to tell this story because I think people need to hear it.
Yeah.
But one of the guys who was on my men's panel, my men's mental health discussion panel, he was a director general at my work, really high up too. So I was really happy to have him on that panel, and he agreed to do it. And he's a really, really nice guy too. So director general HR, when he was 30, he became a priest. So ordained priest.
Oh, crazy. He had some kind of experience that made him want to like
theology. He just like studied theology, and
but he was religious his whole
life.
Yeah.
I think so.
Like
I think I would imagine so. Imagine so. And then, but he came out as gay shortly after, and I think he was always gay. I can't remember. I don't know if he went to school.
Was he in a church where they were accepting of that or no?
No. He was. No one was accepting of that back in the day. He's like, I think he's probably in his 50s, 60s right now, right?
Yeah,
so
probably not.
Some similar kind of thing.
I mean, most churches like Christian, Catholic probably still aren't, but I know there's like Unitarian churches and other churches that are like finally got over that
nowadays. But imagine back then, like going through theology, becoming a priest, being ordained by the Pope, and like all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then but not being okay with who you are, not being able to communicate with who you are. So he's completely different. He's out in the closet now. He speaks about it publicly.
And he's not a member of the clergy anymore.
No, not at all. Not a practicing member, but I think he's still officially, technically one. But
I'm sure he still has some relationship.
Some relationship to it, and he's not. I don't think he's looking back in disgust or anything like that either. But it was interesting to hear his perspective on masculinity too, because even guys who were straight back in the day, we still had our struggles with masculinity, right? But imagine him now having to hide this whole other side about you.
So weird. Yeah.
And just have to deal with, and at that time, and people still are just beating up people who are gay and just.
I know when I hear stories like that, I can't even believe that's still happening in this year and day and age, or race or whatever. It's just so dumb.
People will always find a reason to beat each other up, man.
Yeah,
Physically and emotionally.
And if people would just put like an ounce of that effort into trying to find reasons to connect with someone, man, the world could change like overnight.
But there's so much media and messaging back to that divisive stuff that's actually preventing us from doing that. Because if we actually did that, if we actually all got together and we were all happy and all just really enjoying life and stuff, we wouldn't need anything else. We don't need consumerism. We don't need to go buy the latest iPad. We don't need to go buy the newest biggest
we
TV,
would need like things to survive.
We would just need time with each other.
Yeah,
just sitting around, just enjoying ourselves and just
game of
eating good
Scrabble.
food. Yeah, exactly. Because we would just enjoy that stuff. But because we're not, because we're sad, because we keep comparing ourselves with other people.
Yeah.
We go out there, we
You always have
spend,
to
we
have the
spend, we
best
spend.
thing.
Yeah, no,
Well, not only
we
that, but people spend when they're afraid, and we're always constantly made to think that the fucking nuclear apocalypse is around the
security.
corner.
Like, literally, as soon as 9/11 happened, like security stocks just blew up. Security companies were popping up everywhere, and I know because I used to work security as a security guard during this time.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Oh,
were
it
just
rocked the
throwing
boat, for
money.
sure.
There were just companies were just throwing money at security companies just because everyone was just so scared.
Yeah. People got crazy after that, man.
Yeah.
That was another weird thing from our age group. Like, we were in a weird age for that big event to be happening. I was 15 or something.
We're pretty lucky, man. I think the generation that we grew up with. I mean, I was looking.
Well,
at
not to
stuff
say
of-
9/11's like a good thing.
No.
We're
I just
pretty
mean
lucky.
like it's
We got to
just-
see those buildings
we
fall.
got- yeah, we.
No,
it's-
no.
Yeah, of course.
No,
You know what I mean.
I'm just fucking
You know what
with
I
you.
mean? Yeah.
No, that's a horrible tragedy.
Yeah,
man,
like death to
obviously.
America. No, but I edit that part out. But no, and I was looking over there and I noticed on your shelf like you have a lot of Simpsons gear too.
Yeah.
And I thought
I'm a huge
Simpsons was
fan.
like such a huge part of our upbringing.
Such a huge part of why I got Disney Plus. 30 seasons of The Simpsons.
Oh, it's on
for
Disney
like
Plus.
$8.99. You have every episode. Of this. Yeah, because Disney bought Fox, so
Could
they
be
got
like a
The
sponsored
Simpsons.
ad right here.
Oh, dude. Sorry, but Disney buying Fox finally gets me my X-Men in the MCU Marvel movies.
That's right,
And
that's
why I've
right.
been waiting ever since they started making really good movies with like Iron Man and all that. I'm like,
Oh, but the X-Men movies are amazing though. I love them. So well, not like
as a huge X-Men fan, like they have their moments.
yeah,
but
yeah.
like
But it could have been worse. Could have been like the Street Fighter movie. You remember that?
X2
that
is a
debacle?
really good movie.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Street Fighter movie was god awful.
Oh my
This is
God.
like Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Oh my God, that was terrible.
And M. Bison was played by the dude who played
what was his name?
Raul something.
Raul
but
something, yeah,
He
yeah,
played
yeah.
The dad on Addams Family.
Did he actually?
Yeah,
That's him.
Gomez. Yeah,
Holy
he's
shit.
dead too. Unfortunately,
Oh,
rest in
no.
peace.
So
There,
the original
Raul.
Gomez. Okay.
Yeah, well, the ones in the '90s movies.
Yeah, okay,
Addams
yeah,
Family
yeah,
and Addams
yeah.
Family Values. It
That's
was him.
right. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, he was a good actor, but it was just a terrible movie, Street Fighter. Yeah.
It was really poorly done.
And apparently they made an even worse one with the chick from Smallville, Kristen Krajuk, called
as
Chun-Li's Revenge or something.
I did hear about that, but
I don't know-
luckily
I
I,
don't
didn't
remember
watch
what
it. Luckily,
It was supposed to be pretty bad, I think, too.
probably I would imagine.
There was a really bad
She's not a
guy.
great actress at all, but I don't want to sound like a hater or anything like that. But
I only
was
ever
never
saw her
really-
in Smallville, and she,
Even
I don't know,
that
I
was
thought she
just
did
like-
okay for the role. I didn't think her role was always that interesting. She was sometimes feisty, but she was kind of a boring character. I
a little
thought.
flat. Yeah.
What's her name was more interesting? The girl who, in real life, went in the fucking sex cult.
Yeah. My God. Yeah.
Allison Mack. That's
Oh,
the
yeah,
girl.
yeah, yeah.
She was.
Jesus Christ.
I loved Chloe, the character on Smallville. She was
Yeah,
one of the better
yeah.
characters. Yeah.
No, for sure. Yeah, it wasn't that some shit, eh?
Yeah, she
hey.
was a pretty girl for sure, and she was like she had some charm. I just found Smallville for me got really boring after like season 4.
I wasn't huge into it.
It was too CW. It was too just like made for tweens or something. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. Yeah, exactly. Arrow was kind of the same way. I watched like 3 seasons of Arrow, and I just kind of got meh. You know, not to shit on those people. If you love Arrow, I'm sorry.
It can't be all action all the time, right?
No.
all fucking salmon run all the time. First time was super impressive, and the second time I was like, all right, we get it.
Yeah.
You make us feel inferior as men.
Song number 8, The Righteous and the Wicked.
The righteous and the wicked.
That's
That's
the
what
one?
they say. P.O.P. Prodigies of Peace in the song, but the righteous and the wicked. That's what it's called. Yeah,
Nice. I'm gonna have to check that out.
dude,
for sure.
it's
been
a
while.
weird track, but it's really good.
What else you got written down there?
Man, I got a few more things. Oh, so your YouTube video, I didn't find it. Maybe I wasn't looking in the right spot because I found a couple channels for you. One that was like,
Yeah.
one
yeah.
that had your face, but it looked like it had 10 subscribers. I don't think that was
That's my
the old
first
school one?
Gmail ever.
Yeah, I figured it wasn't the current one.
Mm-hmm.
No, but you told me about you went to California, was it?
Yeah, Los Angeles. Yeah.
So you made this video called 21 Years, 11 Days
Yeah.
because you were able to meet a guy who was serving a life sentence, paroled,
Yeah.
and you talked to him, 10 days after he got out?
Yeah.
Jesus. That must have been heavy, I'm gonna say.
Yeah, it was definitely something, man. But
Did
then-
you like have any prior communication with this guy, or was it just totally?
No, well, I'll tell you the story.
Yeah, please.
And it made me think though. Actually, that I'm looking at that title, and it was another
Wicked
thing
title.
about. Well, no, it was another thing about growing YouTube. Is like no one who's actually just looking for a video to watch will even know what that title's about.
True. Weird, because I thought it was an amazing title, but I was looking at it from an artistic standpoint.
Yeah, no. I think it's
I
a
was
great
like-
title artistically too.
It's ambiguous, so it's like, what the fuck is
Yeah,
that?
what does that even mean? Yeah, but with like 10 billion other videos out there, like.
Oh, and then when you find out what it does mean, it's even more like,
Oh my
now I
God,
gotta
yeah,
watch it.
dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then you got to get to that point.
Okay, so what's the story though? How did
Okay, so
how
the
did this come to be?
So I was I met my boy Mikey in Vietnam when I was on my travels, and he's a really cool dude. He's from New York, and then at the time he was trying to figure out where he wants to go to law school and stuff. So he's like, he got accepted to Berkeley and USC, all out in Southern California, and he was just trying to decide which one to go to. And I was like, you know what, I vibed with this guy when I met him. So I was like, when you go to LA, let me know when you're there, and I'll come out to visit you.
Nice.
So then that happened like about a year or two later. Like I went to go out to USC where he's at now, and just to link up and just to visit LA. It's been a while since I went to LA, and I love LA. I think it's a great
so
city.
jealous. So jealous.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna go again every year because of this story. So I started telling about my podcast, and I was like, yeah, I started this new podcast, and I'm starting to talk to people who have good stories, and it's all about gratitude, basically, right? So for someone who's like stressing about little shit in their life, I want them to listen to my podcast and be like, you know what, my life ain't so bad.
So this is something I picked up from you, very like your vibe from the stuff that I did watch. You're very just positive energy.
Oh, I tried to be. I wasn't always, man. Trust me. It took a long time to get to here, but now I can't even imagine my life without it, really. So I went to go stay with him. It was like downtown LA. He was in law school. He about like a year or two left, and then he's like, yeah, I'm actually getting cases right now, and I'm talking, and I'm in criminal law. So the pro bono cases at some of the firms that he's like working as an intern, they're like, yeah, we need you to take care of some of these cases and see what you can do. Try your best.
Yeah.
So one of his cases was this guy up in Northern California. He was in prison for 21 years.
Jesus.
And
he was supposed to be potentially in there forever, right?
Yeah, exactly. Given the circumstances, for sure. But he was supposed to, meet with him a couple of times. So fly out from LA up to like close to San Francisco every month or two just to talk to him and like get information about his case and help working on his parole file, right? Because he's eligible for parole now for like maybe 4 or 5 years at that point. So he just they started vibing, becoming friends with each other, and Art is the guy's name, and Art was like, I've been thinking about getting out. I've been on a good path for the last 4 or 5 years, and I'm trying to figure out where to go with my life. And then they just really became friends, and that's the type of guy Mikey is. Mikey's a lawyer and everything like that.
He's not
but
just gonna judge you on your.
Yeah, when
on
I
your
met him in
past.
Vietnam, it's like right away I know I'm gonna visit this guy on the other side of the world. Like,
Well, what did this guy do to get in the slammer?
so I'll tell you. So he's 21 years ago. He was only 16 at the time, and he was rolling with a Mexican gang. And he was with this gang since he was like the age of like 11 or 12. And it's like, the age we start smoking weed is basically the age that these guys
Did
start
he
rolling.
not know his folks or something?
He knew his mom. His
Okay.
dad wasn't around.
Well, good parents don't let their kid get into a Mexican gang when they're fucking 11.
Yeah,
you know?
but it's
That's
hard.
crazy.
It's a harsh reality, man. We're not.
Oh,
talking,
yeah, that's insane.
We're not talking about Ottawa here, and we're not
No,
talking
for
about
real,
Toronto
yeah.
even, because Toronto, it's like there's good enough social services in Canada that like we can still grow up in the hood and be okay. But in these neighborhoods, it was just like, man, the guys who were making it in the neighborhood and the guys who had like the street cred and the fame were the gangsters.
Shit.
All the older, like, it was just like that. You had to go because that's where you made money. That's where you had power. That's where you had protection. That's basically it. So he was describing it to me, and he was like, "This is the only life that they know, right?" And for us here, it's like, I was thinking like, why don't you just stay in school and why don't you just keep working hard in school? And he's like, "Nah, man. Like, no, even in the school system, no one made it in those neighborhoods." So he just got into that crowd, and by the time he was 16, he was already like 3 or 4 years in the gang. So started getting a lot more credibility, taking more and more ballsy, dangerous jobs, and just getting his rank up, basically, right? And so one day they planned like a home invasion, and it was like they were gonna home invade this guy in the neighborhood, this older guy who owned guns legitimately. They just knew he had them.
So they just wanted his weapons.
They just wanted his guns. Yeah, so they wanted his guns. So they basically, 4 or 5
Doesn't
guys.
it seem like the worst fucking person to steal from is someone that has guns? Like,
yeah.
are you afraid he's going to use it on you? I don't know.
Well,
That
these
would be-
guys have their own guns too, right?
Okay,
Yeah,
they just wanted to up their
They
arsenal.
wanted to, yeah. Basically, that's the only way you got ahead, basically, right? Like a lot of robbery was kind of like a part of life and a part of the gang. So they had a whole elaborate plan to show up, knock at the door and like break their way into the house, tie the guy up, tie up his wife, and like just get him to open the safe, get the guns out. And they did that. Like they literally broke in, tied him up, and the guy just was not giving up the password. The guy was not opening up the safe. So they started torturing him. They started like beating him up, and they started like, open the damn safe, open the damn safe. It took like hours.
Jesus.
And he still didn't open it. And do you know what he said? Like when they kept on beating him, he's like, I'm not going to let you take these guns onto the streets and harm innocent people. And he was not letting up.
There's a fucking responsible gun owner.
Well,
if I've ever
that's
heard
a
of one.
fucking hero
Jesus.
right there,
Yeah.
dude. Like if you ask me, that dude's a fucking hero. So they literally like were beating the crap out of him until like they were like, this is not going anywhere. We got to leave. But before we leave, what are we gonna do? We're gonna try to kill the guy. Okay, like we're like, that's it. Like
Why? Because he's gonna squeal on them or whatever.
yeah, but
He's
that was
seen
just
their faces and shit.
This is how it was back in the day, man. You ever watch like those old school movies, like Boys in the Hood and shit like that? Someone messes with you and like you want to get away from a crime scene, like you don't even want to take the chance of him snitching on you. You got a gun, you got bullets, just kill the guy.
Damn.
And you know what? Even if you kill the guy, they're not afraid to go to jail because when they're in prison, they have their own gang. They're the inside prison gang of the same gang to take care of you. So that was just your life at the time. That was your reality. That's what a lot of these guys grew up with.
I gotta imagine it's still not as good as being free though, and being able to do whatever the hell.
Oh,
you want.
100%.
Like,
But then like how they think that they're in the hood and they're struggling so much that like even being free is whatever. You know what I mean? You go to
Yeah.
prison, you don't got to worry about paying for food.
you got food and yeah.
You got shelter and like you got guys to protect you. You know what I mean? What else do you need?
It's like Trailer Park Boys where they like going to jail because they have hockey tournaments.
Yeah,
and shit.
it's like it's literally like that. But that's the Canadian version.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
guess.
I just
but
always thought that was hilarious. They're like, oh, I want to stay in jail for like 4 more days.
it's a reality, dude. It's
when
a
they
reality.
get out, they don't want to get out.
It's a reality, man. For some guys, they think it's not that bad in there, man. So they just go. And so anyways, they got caught. There's really another crazy part of that story too that's in my podcast. So make sure you guys check that out.
Yeah.
But they escaped. They left at that point. So they're making their way out of the place now. And then they got caught. Yeah. I think they like did a U-turn at like a stop sign or something. And then the cops pulled them over. And then all these guys tried to make off on foot.
Shit.
And then another fucked up part of that story is that like now he's in jail, right? He's juvie 16, and now he has to face trial. And he's got no money for a lawyer. He's just some a Mexican kid in a Mexican gang. So they assigned like a public defender for him, like a crown attorney basically, or like a defense attorney, legal aid kind of type of thing.
The freebie stuff.
Yeah. And the legal aid there didn't give a shit, especially when it came to like minority kids like that who are in gangs, because there's not much we can do for him anyways.
Yeah.
But the guy told Art, he's like, okay, listen, like given the circumstances, like whatever they give you, just take it, because that's gonna be the best thing they give you, which is like never ever what you should ever do in the court of law.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're always gonna try to hit you with the hardest shit. But he was so young and like he just didn't know.
He just went along with it.
He just went along with it, and it's like, yeah, life sentence. How do you plead? Guilty. 21 years, 11 days for armed robbery. No one was murdered.
Torture's kind of fucked up though.
It is.
I mean, I don't know the details.
I'm not
but
going to, but I'm just saying in Canada.
The only defense I would say that you really have to focus on is if the guy was 16. Like, how is he getting a life sentence when he's a minor?
When he's only 16. Yeah, exactly.
So was he sentenced when he was 16 or
sentenced? Yeah, as an adult and 16.
Crazy.
Yeah. So I mean, if he was in Canada for all
That
of
wouldn't
that,
have happened, yeah.
he would have probably got like 3 years, 4 years max, and then out. Complete sentence served. Probably no probation. I don't know how the appeals work out and the parole works out here. But he was in prison for like 21 years, and just a whole bunch of shit happened in prison too. It wasn't like his life flew by, and in fact, it was the opposite. His life went by at the speed of a snail, basically.
That's how I always imagine prison.
Oh man, he talks a lot about what it's like in prison, and like what it's really like, and what the gangs are like, and what leaving the gang is. Because if you keep rolling with the gang in prison, you're never gonna leave, basically.
Because you'll keep doing shit in prison.
You won't get parole at least.
Add to your
Yeah, and you will keep doing shit. And he did commit another crime in prison too while he was in there. So that's part of the podcast too.
Yeah, because I was gonna say in prison, it always seems like the smartest thing is just read books and exercise constantly.
Yeah.
What else are you gonna do? Build your brain and build your body.
Exactly. But there's only so much of that you can do too, right?
I suppose, yeah. Networking is probably important,
you
but
need to
not
have
when you're getting
socializing,
more shit added onto your sentence because you're getting into
drugs or contraband and sneaking stuff in and assault and all that stuff.
Yeah, prison's fucking crazy. Just to think about that concept.
He was in Max for a while, like maximum security, United
where
States.
They put them in the shoe or whatever.
Yeah, federal state or state prison or something like that. It was crazy.
Did he ever have to go in the isolation room though?
I think so. I'm not sure. We didn't actually talk about any isolation, but I'm sure at some points probably.
And was he a victim of assault? I'm assuming of some kind while he was
hey,
there.
Man, prison's prison.
Well, I've always heard
it's
that
not pleasant.
Canadian prisons aren't as bad as the States, right? They can't be.
Probably not. It also probably depends on the people that are there too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what level of prison it is too.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm picturing this super Canadian prison in my head where they're like, "Did you guys get your morning tidbits?"
prison's probably prison.
Yeah,
for
it's
the
probably
most
prison.
part.
I don't know.
But
something I hope to never have to find out firsthand.
Yeah, but anyways, the episode is not just really just about what he did and being in prison. The episode is a lot about rehabilitation too, right? And becoming a better person and being and getting back to God and contributing and what he wants for his life now that he's out.
Just make more of his time.
Yeah, just to live the life that kind of got taken away from him. And
it's got to be weird to try to like adapt back into society after that, right?
Well, especially at that time, 10 days. I mean, I spoke to him a couple of weeks ago, and he was like, "Man, a year ago, like literally, it's been almost a year." And he's like, "It's almost like a distant memory for me. Like it was like my life, another life ago." So he's like adapting
because
so fast.
Much has changed.
Yeah, he's working now. He's got like
nice.
he learned to become a welder in prison. Like there's classes you can take. So you got certified, you got out. Now he's working with the union, doing like carpentry and a little bit of welding too. And
you didn't get the vibe that he's gonna ever like start running back with the.
Well, here's the thing. Okay, so another big part of my episode and what I wanted to convey was that we all have that interpretation of what a life sentence or a lifer or like someone who's out on parole is gonna probably want to go back in because that's what they're used to. For the guys that they actually let off on parole, like the guys who actually get parole. It couldn't be anything further from the truth, because these guys have literally worked like hard to get out. Yeah, you can't trick parole judges to get you off. Like you cannot.
Well, no, I had heard that most of them end up back in jail because they have too hard of a time getting a good job, and then they end up resorting to crime because it's the easier way to get an income, and then because of the crime, they start running with the drugs, and then they start, slippery slope and all that.
There's a lot of resources now to help a lot of people who come out, right? They stay at a halfway house for a little while. They make sure that they don't integrate too fast. Yeah, parole officer, probation officers.
Drug tests regularly and stuff like that.
Yeah, drug tests regularly. But these are mostly guys who have been in prison for like 4 or 5 years, the reoffenders. Yeah. The guys who are actually like been spending 20 plus years in prison are the least likely recidiv. Like they have the least recidivism rate.
Well, they're trying to fight for the last 20 years of their life, maybe, They're like, I'm going to, let's just say you go in when you're 20, you spend 25 years in there. You're like in your mid 40s now. Yeah. You want to get the fuck out there and live.
Well, yeah, exactly. And some people actually give up on that hope.
Really?
Right? When they're in prison. Yes. A lot of people that's why they stay forever, because they're like, you know what? It's never going to work. It's never going to happen.
Because I'm not going to be able to fit in anymore.
I'm not going to be able to fit in.
People
plus,
are going to judge me.
Well, plus they probably get committed for other crimes when they're in prison too. So it adds on to their sentence. And they don't care. They're already there, right? They're like, okay, whatever. I just
At some point they have to accept that,
their family, all their friends, they can't face them when they get out anyways. They won't even remember them. Like,
that's so weird.
But he was like literally the perfect case, because he mentioned this in the podcast too. He said the parole judges, the people who decide if you get parole or not, they decide if you get parole if they think that you're suitable enough to be their neighbor. To literally to live next door to them.
Weird.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense. Yeah, it does make sense. I've just never heard that. That's very interesting.
Yeah. There's a lot of different things that he mentioned in this podcast that were just so eye-opening for me.
Definitely.
And a lot. Awesome. And again, back to that point about wanting to make sure that people see inmates and life like people like lifers out in the world in a different light. That's what I wanted. Because I'm like, these guys are people. These guys deserve a second chance. And they don't deserve our like condescending look at them. To think that they're actually going to be like either unqualified at a job or like going to recommit or like not be a good worker or someone who's not trustable or reliable, Mm-hmm. And he's like
they're going to be sketchy and jack their shit or like,
exactly. He's so human, dude. Like he's like literally you got to listen to it when you got time, because
I will 100%. Yeah,
like what he's gone through and what the price that he's had to pay for everything that he's done and all the repenting and all that. It's really turned him into quite a human being.
That's a really amazing story. That's why I had to ask you about this, just because the concept made me think, wow.
It changed my life, dude.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Meeting this guy changed my life. He's my friend now, and if I go down there, I'll stay with him. I have no fear of him at all.
No, it sounds like you know his energy, that he's not someone that you're going to have to worry he's going to like stab you in the middle of the night or something.
Yeah. Well, he was a great companion to hang out with, too, because I was in LA on vacation, right? And I told you Mikey was in school there, so I barely had time to hang out with Mikey. He was so busy. So I had a rental car, I had my own place, I had my own Airbnb, and that's where I recorded the podcast. He just
showed you around and stuff.
Yeah, like when he was able to get out of his place, like the halfway house that he was staying at, like I actually went to go help him get his like driver's license, his social security card. I even took him to a Clippers game, like LA Clippers. Yeah, literally, it was fun because like I wanted to go too.
Appreciated that, yeah.
Yeah, and like and he was like, man, he was in front of the Staples Center and taking pictures and getting inside there and.
There you go.
Oh, he was freaking out, man, and so was I. Cause I was like, man, this is my first time in the Staples Center too. So it was a really awesome trip, man.
That's super cool, man. And I'm sure like you just made his whole experience so much easier. Yeah. Getting back out there, like here's this person I don't know that's just accepting me and being like, hey, I know what you did. It's okay.
Oh man,
I trust you. Like I'll give you a hug or whatever. Like Probably goes a long way.
I wish they all had that because like when I would go pick him up at his halfway house and he would introduce me to some of his friends and some of the people that were staying there, they were all in jail or all in prison for murder.
Oh shit.
Yeah, all of them. He was like the only one who actually was like life sentence, paroled, and there was no murder involved.
Mm-hmm.
And I was meeting all these guys too, and there was like, yeah, and I'd be like, hey, yeah, there's Tom and there's Anthony or whatever, and then like I get in the car, I'd be like, hey, so what were those two guys in for? And he was like, yeah, both murder, first degree. And I was like, whoa.
But did you get sketchy vibes?
No. They were cool, man. They were just trying to get their life back together too. Trying to get jobs and just trying to. I don't think they were trying to cause trouble.
Yeah, I don't know. The murder thing, I gotta be honest, would kind of freak me out. I'd have to know the circumstance.
100%.
Like if it was
100%.
self-defense or some shit, or like.
Yeah,
other
like
than
I'd still be a little bit on guard around these people for sure. But like, it's just, I mean,
it's a tricky
I'm just
thing.
saying,
Like if someone does something like that, it's obviously a heinous, horrible thing to have happen.
Of course.
But let's say it's somewhat accidental, or it's circumstantially, a gang fight or
well,
something.
there's no excuse to really. There's no.
No, there
excuse for
isn't.
murder,
But let's say it wasn't premeditated and it was somewhat of an accident. Like how long do you punish someone for? How do they live with themselves?
Depends who you ask, man.
It's
Depends
insane.
Who you ask. That's why I'm not a judge and I don't want to be one.
That's why I'm a peaceful person. I don't
Yeah.
get into fights and I don't risk ever getting into any kind of situation like that, Because
sure,
you hear
man.
about people who get there was a guy I went to fucking school with in high school. I'm not going to name him, but we weren't like good friends, but I smoked joints with him sometimes. You know how weed can make you hang out with people that you normally wouldn't really hang out with.
Friendly strangers.
Yeah, because they thought I was a dork and they were super gangsta and shit. And he apparently, a couple years after high school, I had heard this story about a guy on Elgin Street who got into an argument or something with, who I learned was this guy that I knew from school. And the other guy, got punched. Like he turned around, I guess, to leave the argument. And the guy I went to school with punched him in the back of the head, which is a fighting thing you do, I guess. But the guy ended up like dropping to the ground and he like died from it like a few days later. Or
Yeah,
something, 'cause
man.
he fucked up his
That's
brain.
terrible,
Like,
man. Oh, jeez.
isn't that fucked? Like I'm sure the guy I knew from school wasn't trying to kill the guy.
Yeah, just
but
don't
he
punch
was
the
a
guy in the
fucking
yeah,
asshole
yeah,
in
yeah,
school.
Yeah.
Like
No, don't punch a guy in the back of the fucking head, man. If you're gonna punch him,
He's
him
trying
in
to
front
walk
of the
away
face.
from the
Yeah,
fight,
yeah,
you
dude,
know?
Like,
But
that's a pretty
anyways.
cowardly thing to do. But hey, but he did kill. He probably wasn't intending to kill the guy, but
But he got like manslaughter or something or
he?
whatever the accidental one.
but
is.
manslaughter in Canada is probably like what 10 years max.
I don't know.
I think.
I'm not hoping to run into him.
Yeah, exactly.
And I wasn't surprised when I heard it.
Don't
which is
turn
the
your back
sad
on
thing.
him. That's for sure. Do not turn your back on this guy.
It made me wonder, like, what his childhood must have been like. Because when I heard he had done that, it didn't surprise me because he was like always a fucking, he was like a pit bull, man. And not to give pit bulls a bad name because a lot of pit bulls are sweet, but you know what I mean.
He's like a fucked up
Metaphorically, like that energy that pit bulls are supposed to have. He had that kind of just like always trying to puff the chest and make fun of somebody else and make himself look cool and like just a fucking dick. You
It
know?
all goes back to childhood, man. Everything.
Yeah,
everything.
It's got to be just shitty parents, I guess, or a lack of any parenting.
Lack of attention, lack of care.
Sad, man.
Yeah.
I wish every kid deserves to have a fucking healthy upbringing and love, man. That's it. And like most of the problems in the world are created by people who don't have that or didn't have that. I would.
Well,
wager,
that's our
I'd
job
wager.
as parents, right? Really, like that's how I feel as a parent. That's my parenting philosophy. Really, is give this kid like the best childhood I can.
Yeah, well, like not spoiling them or whatever.
No,
but
that's
like,
not what I mean at all.
But like just
let
that
them
feeling
enjoy,
of
enjoy being loved and like just giving them
trust and comfort and
it's a strong foundation, right? If you build this emotional intelligence in your kid, they'll just be better equipped, I guess.
they'll learn to
spread
spread that,
Yeah, and spread that because now they'll have like a full cup to pour from. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So that's my philosophy on love too. It's like you get this love when you're a kid, and like it needs from both like parents, like ideally, and
You take pieces from both.
Yeah, pieces
Actually,
from both.
I wrote something in my phone the other day.
Yeah.
Because I thought about my parents and how, because my parents are kind of different. Like my dad's very scientific. I mean, I said they were both biologists, but my mom's very into spiritual stuff, and my dad's more like borderline atheist. But I wrote something the other day that was like my dad. I gotta check my phone. Remember what it was?
Check it out.
Yeah.
How are we doing for time? Oh, it's all okay. Perfect.
2:30 almost.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's fine.
I think we're good. Where is it?
Because you forgot to set the clock back on that, and I was like, oh shit, is it 2:20?
Did that one die? Oh no,
No,
you mean daylight saving
daylight
time?
savings
Yeah.
time.
Where the hell is it? Oh yeah, my dad put a good head on my shoulders while my mom helped me put my soul in the clouds, or something like that. Like I felt like I got a really good mixture with the way my parents raised me, because my dad was very like grounded, and my mom was a lot more let me explore my artistic side of things. Not that my dad didn't support that stuff, but you know what I mean. My dad can't draw for shit, and he likes Aerosmith and Deep Purple, and that's it. No, like, well, Leonard Cohen too, a couple more, but you're not like a huge music guy, right? Whereas my mom is like into all arts forms, like, anyways. So yeah, I do think that having a mixture of, but mainly love, it doesn't really matter. All that is details. Love is the foundation.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Once they have that, then they have something to spread. Otherwise, they have a hole, right? This is what I see. Like if you don't fill the kid up, he'll have like shortcomings and a bit of a hole or like a bit of a void that needs filling. And then these folks, I think, will grow up and going out in the world and like trying to find things to fill that void a little bit, right? That they didn't get.
Yeah, and that's like the middle ground, because there's other kids that get filled up with poison, which is the parents who beat the shit out of them or teach them like horrible life lessons.
Yeah, I wouldn't call that filling. I would just call that like neglect and unfilling, basically.
Well, no, because kids are, filling the hole sounds gross.
But they both make sense. Yeah,
but kids are like an empty vase or whatever. Like that sounds weird too.
No, it's
you know what I mean? They're so. Like a sponge is the better way to put it. Like children's brains are just a sponge. They're so ready to absorb. And if you're going to fill them with hate and anger and judgment and racism and homophobia and all that other shit, it's just like they're going to turn out to be horrible people. And it's so unfair that the kids don't get a choice.
Well, you know, the kids who grew up out of that environment and end up doing well, I guess, like those are the ones who kind of like turn away from their families.
They really
right?
overcome.
Yeah,
they
have
literally
just like, they just give up their family like at the age of like 18, 19 and never talk to them again.
That's got to be so hard too.
That's, pretty much just as hard as.
Because even if your parents are horrible people, you still have this like biological like magnet feeling towards your biological family, I think.
No, I think I agree too.
If you hate your brother, you're still like, yeah, but I kind of love him. And if I
yeah.
found out he died, I'd be really upset still. You know, it's weird. It's weird how love can be complicated like that.
Well, it's like what they say in the Bible and what they say in a lot of religions. It's like you have to have respect for your parents, right? And it's like a big part of it.
And your
it's
elders.
one of the commandments. It's one of the commandments, basically, right? Thou shalt honor. I don't know. I'm not a Christian or anything like that, but I think it's in there for a reason.
Honor thy mother and father or something like
exactly,
that. Yeah,
because like it's a part of like what God wants, and like in Buddhism is the same way. You got to really like. You got to honor your parents no matter what, right? You got to respect them no matter what.
Well, I was going to say even just more broadly honoring elders and people who have come before us, who have life experience.
Yeah, of course.
Who have traditions and things that have helped them as, and you can't get too stuck up in that. That's the other end of the spectrum. People who are like, this is the way it's always been. Sometimes things need to fucking evolve, and that's just like,
you need to find a good middle ground.
You need a level of adaptability, you know?
Yeah, and then the opposite of that is there's a lot of people who are, especially young people coming up, and they come into an industry and they think they know everything right away, and they get really cocky about it.
Yeah.
And then they just kind of like block off their ability to learn.
From the sage, wise people who are like, hey, guess what? I've had moments like that too, where I was on and up. You're going to have it down too. Like,
those guys learn quick, man. Those guys will learn quick. You know? Yeah. They think they got it all figured out until they don't.
Yeah, exactly. You need to listen to the Yodas and the Obi-Wans.
You have to, man. Well, you just got to respect them. You don't have to agree with anything that they say, really, but it's just, man, like, you got to respect the OGs.
Yeah.
When you get into the scene.
Yeah. Baby Yodas don't know shit.
Yeah.
50 years old, that's nothing. You got to be like 900, like the real Yoda.
Yeah, exactly.
So if we should probably wrap up soon. I know you got to get out of here, but I got to ask you the superpower question. We always ask people, if you could have a superpower, what would it be? Flying is not allowed. We vetoed that a while ago.
Who wants to just fly anyways?
Well, you can only pick one power.
You can go in an airplane.
You can't pick like a character. You have to pick a power. One superpower, you walk out of here with that power. Like, what would it be, you know? We've had some pretty interesting answers.
Probably to heal people.
Cool.
Yeah.
Man, that's so altruistic of you.
Yeah. I think if I could, I mean, what more satisfaction can you have?
Hopefully you could use it for yourself.
Yeah, hopefully. But even if I couldn't, I would still take the power.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean?
You'd be like loved everywhere you went. You just go into like children's cancer wards and like heal everybody.
Well, you could literally make a story about that too, like a whole Marvel movie behind something like that. Because imagine I'm giving myself my own energy to heal someone else when I can't heal myself. You know what I mean?
Interesting. There's been a couple characters in Marvel like that. I'm such a nerd that I actually.
Yeah.
There's an X-Men character called Elixir. He has like gold skin and he can heal people. Maybe he can heal himself though. I bet he probably can actually.
I know like Wolverine like regenerates himself, but like
Silver Surfer can heal people because he can rearrange matter.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Okay. There's been a few. Angel from the X-Men.
Yeah. The guy with the metal wings and stuff.
Well, that was when he became Archangel.
Same guy. Okay.
Yeah. So Angel's got a crazy story. He was kind of boring, right? When the X-Men started, he was just a dude with wings, and on a team full of like, guy can shoot lasers out of his eyes. This guy can turn into ice. It's like, I have wings. Okay, scout ahead, buddy. Like, so I think the writers wanted to spice him up, but they had a storyline. I think it was called Mutant Massacre, where one of the Marauders, which are like these bad guys that Mr. Sinister, his like goons or whatever.
Yeah.
There's this guy named Harpoon, super original name. He throws harpoons.
Oh, it's like Scorpion.
Yeah, but no, like the big long javelins kind of.
yeah.
And he basically impales both of his wings to the point where they have to get amputated. And then Warren Worthington, the guy who is Angel, he ends up getting super depressed and distraught because his whole life, like flying his like escape, you know? And now he's like he's still a rich billionaire playboy, but he's off the X-Men because he's got no powers, I guess, you know? So he tried to kill himself flying his plane into a mountain or whatever, his private jet. And then Apocalypse, who's this super, the oldest mutant from ancient Egypt or whatever.
The Thanos, basically.
He manipulated his genes and he makes him into Archangel.
Yeah. Oh, wow, okay.
Anyways, what I was going to say was later on, years and years and years later in comics, they made certain mutants started having... in X-Men secondary mutations where they were like developing new powers. So an example would be like Emma Frost back in the day. She was just the White Queen. She had mental powers. That was it. But then she got a secondary mutation where she could turn her skin into diamond. Oh, wow. Which you might have seen in the movies.
I think so, yeah.
But anyways, Angel, long fucking point here. Angel's secondary mutation was that his blood could heal people.
Oh, really?
Just his blood, though.
So he would have to spill it on someone?
Or transfusions or whatever.
Oh, okay.
But, blood of an angel, it was kind of like
Yeah.
symbolic, I guess.
Yeah.
But, that's a really cool answer, man. I never would have thought.
Well, because you always get a power to hurt people and to assault, right? Like an attack, but like...
Or maybe not like aggressive, but certainly people pick things that are like self-serving. Like, oh, I want to be super fast so I can get to work on time. It's like generally not
work
like...
out in the gym. Like, do like, don't skip leg day. You'd be super fast.
You thought about it like a hero.
Yeah. I just think about like what would help me in my life right now, because I just see so much people hurting and in pain all the time and with like struggling within. And
hopefully you could heal their mental pain too. Like,
it would be a part of it. It would be holistic for sure.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. But
I should start asking people what would their superhero name be after they pick that power.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's going to be a harder question.
Be called triage.
Yeah, triage.
Something like that.
Yeah. Public nurse.
Shit, man. Okay, well, I guess that's pretty much it. We'll play around on the arcade and we'll do a picture and shit. But
cool.
Other than that, thanks a lot for coming on, man. I really appreciate it.
I'll plug my shit if I can, I guess.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, so Coach Acie on YouTube, Instagram, DJ Acie _. I'm sure that all this is going to get... everything I'm sure is going to get popped up on the information and stuff, but...
Yeah, I'll put something in the list at the bottom.
Yeah, but join the army. Everyone get together, raise love, raise peace, and spread good vibes, man. And hopefully I get to speak to you again. I feel like we could really
come back anytime.
for hours.
Oh, yes.
You could come on my show and stuff. And
we literally just met. We talked like what, 3 fucking messages.
And we could literally still go. Like I'm literally, if I didn't have a meeting to go to, I could stay here all day.
Oh yeah, I went through some of my stuff, but we've been freeballing it here, and it's been awesome, man. So we always high five at the end.
All right.
Seems like conducive with the message you're doing here.
Yeah.
And I'm going to use my new subscribe thing. So subscribe up here and check out whatever video YouTube's recommending for you down in this general area. That's it. Have a good one, everybody. Peace.
Awesome, man. That was fun.
Yo.